Chapter 172. Blood Demon Essence. Its murderous aura is much thicker than Owl War Star's. If you can get it, your battle power will double. The parrot did not hesitate to reveal the Lu family's most valuable treasure. Feng Sha's eyes lit up. Blood Demon Essence was a treasure. It was the crystallization of the murderous aura. It was definitely a divine treasure between the 6th and 5th grade. It was very beneficial to his murderous aura and murderous aura cultivation. It was no worse than swallowing a 6th grade divine pill. Really? Feng Sha stared at the parrot curiously. Such a treasure was obviously sealed. How did the parrot know? This divine bird is the 10,000 beasts' divine emperor. How can I lie? What's more, you saved my life. If you don't believe me, look at his stupid face. It's all green. How can it be fake? The parrot pointed at Lu Su, whose face was glowing green. Yi Qinghan smiled and cupped his fists. Trust it. If you can't find the blood demon essence when you get there, I'll compensate you with 2 in 100 years. All right. You can go. Feng Sha's eyes finally showed some emotion. It seemed that he was very interested in the blood demon essence. Yi Qinghan looked at Lu Su's gloomy face and laughed coldly. He summoned his cloud-piercing boat and flew into the sky, escaping without a trace. Feng Sha blocked more than 10 martial honorables with his saber. Whoever dared to move would be attacked by him. More than 10 martial honorables surrounded Feng Sha but did not attack. They were obviously waiting for reinforcements. However, they did not want to just sit around and wait. Lu Ning, bring a group of people and kill that stupid bird and its owner. If they escape, I'll hold you responsible. Lu Su shouted coldly. Lu Ning's face changed. Now that she had fully activated her cultivation, she had recovered her memories. She knew that the one who had escaped was none other than the Honorable War King Yi Qinghan from 8 years ago. The man she loved wanted her to lead a group of people to kill Yi Qinghan, however, Lu Ning only hesitated for a moment. Then, she led a group of strong cultivators on Owl Dragon Star to ride the cloud-piercing boat into the sky. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Hundreds of cloud-piercing boats broke through the sky at an extremely fast speed. However, Feng Sha did not even look at them. If Yi Qinghan could not even deal with this group of juniors, he was not worthy of Feng Sha's help. The white clouds in the void rolled backward, and the Milky Way flowed in reverse. The friction of the cloud-piercing boat created flames that illuminated the Xiaolong region. Yi Qinghan's cloud-piercing boat had been personally given to him by Stan Khan. It was much faster than Lu Ning's cloud-piercing boat, and the quality was also much better. However, there were too many people. They came from all directions and were about to surround him. The parrot's eyelids twitched, but it didn't cry out in fear of disturbing Yi Qinghan. The corners of Yi Qinghan's lips curled up in a mocking smile. When he had piloted the cloud-piercing ship through the various galaxies, they had still been in their mother's wombs. He was still lacking when it came to fighting with him. Sit. I am going to crash. Yi Qinghan's eyes shone with a cold light. He looked at the cloud-piercing boat in front of him and pressed the speed button without hesitation. Whoosh! The cloud-piercing boat turned into a rainbow, dragging a fire dragon with it as it charged at the other party. The Zhang family's experts were riding a cloud-piercing boat. The outside was covered with true essence. They were originally very confident. However, when they saw Yi Qinghan driving the cloud-piercing boat like a madman, their hair stood on end. Their eyes were filled with shock. Quick! Dodge! God-slaying eagle, defend the cloud-piercing boat. In the pilot's cabin, Yi Qinghan smiled disdainfully. His divine sense locked onto the cloud-piercing boat. Yi Qinghan's cloud-piercing boat was covered in a layer of black scales. It was completely covered by the God-slaying eagle's true essence. It could block at least 30% of the impact. Boom! 2 cloud-piercing boats worth millions collided in the Star River. One of them was broken in half. The corpses on it were instantly burned to dust. The astral winds blew and the corpses disappeared without a trace. When enemies met on a narrow path, the brave would emerge victorious. If the two cloud-piercing boats collided head-on, the most that would happen was that both sides would be severely injured. The quality of the collision wouldn't change the overall situation. But, how could the Zhang family dare to collide? They wanted to change their course and face Yi Qinghan. How could they not be smashed apart? Yi Qinghan pierced through one of the cloud-piercing boats and flew away. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They felt their hands and feet turn cold. As they watched the Zhang family's cloud-piercing boat quickly burn into nothingness, they didn't dare to run in front of Yi Qinghan to stop him. Lu Ning's face was cold and indifferent. She chased after Yi Qinghan, not giving him any face. Yi Lingyu followed unhurriedly in the middle. He didn't help Yi Qinghan or Lu Ning. "Big brother, what are you doing?" Yi Jianma looked at Yi Lingyu with curiosity. "Protect him and leave this place." Yi Lingyu's eyes flashed with a gentle light as he lightly said. "You seem to know him. I feel that this person is very strange." Yi Jianma propped up her chin with her small hand and said doubtfully. "Strange in what way?" "His soul, body, and realm are all different. It's like a powerhouse took over his body and was reborn." Yi Jianma's words revealed Yi Qinghan's situation, causing Yi Lingyu's brows to twitch. He quickly said, "Don't tell anyone about him. Do you understand? Not even Master." "I know. Big brother, you think so highly of him, and he's someone who took over his body and was reborn. This person must be Yi Qinghan, Supreme Yi Qinghan, who died in battle on Owl Warstar, right?" Yi Jianma quickly deduced Yi Qinghan's true identity. Yi Lingyu smiled. As expected, he couldn't hide anything from Yi Jianma. "I've already divined that he won't face a great calamity. These people shouldn't be able to stop him." The broken flute in Yi Jianma's hand disappeared, and 2 black copper coins appeared. They were emitting a gloomy light, and the patterns on them were like the great path of heaven's mystery. Almost nothing could be hidden from this little girl. "Don't touch these 2 copper coins. Don't touch them again." Yi Lingyu's expression changed, and his tone became dignified. Yi Jianma stuck out her tongue and quickly put away the copper coins. She sat aside obediently. If Yi Qinghan saw these 2 copper coins, he would be able to confirm Yi Jianma's identity in an instant. On Owl Dragon's Star, more and more great martial venerables gathered. Feng Sha didn't care at all. His aura exploded, and a monstrous evil spirit filled the air. His murderous intent shocked everyone. He took a step forward and instantly defeated the joint force of the crowd. "You want to go against me with just the likes of you? Think carefully before you act. Don't say that I didn't warn you. If you annoy me, Owl Dragon's Star will be the second Owl War Star." Feng Sha glanced at Lu Su and the others coldly and said arrogantly, "I'm going to get the evil blood essence. If you want to stop me, ask your region master to come here personally. Let's see if he dares to attack me." Feng Sha's evil spirit soared into the sky, and his murderous intent filled the sky. He slashed with his saber, and it seemed to tear the world apart. Several great martial venerables in front of him retreated to the sides. He took advantage of the situation and stepped into Tianshui City, and went straight to the forbidden area behind the city master's mansion. Feng Sha's eyes were like torches, and he glanced at the forbidden area. He couldn't help but be curious. He had already entered the back mountain, but he hadn't found the evil blood essence. How did the parrot know? Lu Su and the others hurried over and shouted, "What are you doing? This is the ancestral land of the Lu family. Please leave immediately." "What are you talking about? Treasures belong to those who are fated to get them. Didn't you say that Yi Qinghan is just a selfish villain? He would rather let the godly martial emperor's code disappear in the river of history than benefit the world. He is a sinner of the human race." You hid the evil blood essence and didn't let me use it. Aren't you a sinner of the human race? Feng Sha raised his eyebrows and scolded in a cold voice. Lu Su's face turned purple, and his body trembled with anger. He was speechless. Get out of my way. Don't force me to attack, or I'll raze Tianshui City to the ground. Feng Sha's murderous intent rushed out of his body, and it was extremely dense. The flowers and plants in the back mountain withered instantly. It was terrifying. Lu Su's hands and feet were cold. He looked at the indifferent Feng Sha and knew that he didn't care about human lives. If he angered him, Tianshui City would really be razed to the ground. Tianshui City was an important property of the Lu family. If it was razed, the loss would be immeasurable. Gulp! Lu Su swallowed a mouthful of saliva and let Feng Sha wreak havoc in the ancestral land, looking for the blood evil essence. The cold light in Feng Sha's eyes almost condensed into a solid substance. Wherever his eyes passed, the mountain rocks cracked. After a long time, he stared at a tombstone. He reached out his hand and poured out his vital essence, shattering the array on the tombstone. He pulled the tombstone out from the ground, and the evil qi rushed out in all directions, suppressing the vitality of heaven and earth. Countless practitioners in Tianshui City fell into a coma. Even the ordinary Tao masters were trembling, as if they were being stared at by a terrifying evil spirit. Feng Sha was not surprised, but happy. He reached out his hand to grab the tombstone. He grabbed a black iron box. The iron box had already decayed, and it disappeared with a light shake. A fist-sized black stone was emitting a light that could steal people's souls. The strong corrosiveness caused the bones of Feng Sha's hand to decay instantly, and the eerie white bones were exposed. This was no longer an ordinary blood evil essence. It had been hidden in the ancestral grave of the Lu family for many years. It had already evolved into a level 6 blood evil essence, which was enough to kill a great martial venerable. Ha ha ha, the theory of cause and effect is indeed true. The cause that I have planted, I have now obtained the effect that I have now. Feng Sha's face was ferocious. The piercing pain from his arm and soul did not make him let go. Instead, he used the bones of his hand to tightly hold onto the blood evil essence. His entire person was like a creature that had crawled out of hell. Lu Su was furious. He had a body full of battle power, but he did not dare to act wantonly. On one hand, Feng Sha was too terrifying. On the other hand, he did not want to destroy Tianshui City. When he killed the Yi family, he did not show any mercy. That was because he did not feel any heartache when the Yi family was destroyed. However, how could Tianshui City be the same? This is a treasure left behind by my Lu family's ancestors. You are robbing me. No matter what organization you are from, I will not let you take away the blood evil essence today. You better put down the blood evil essence immediately and I will pretend that nothing happened today. Lu Su shouted in a deep voice. Feng Sha coldly stared at Lu Su. This blood evil essence was very important to his cultivation. He had searched for it for many years, but he could not find it. Now that he had found it, how could he let it go? What if I insist on taking it? Feng Sha coldly asked. Lu Su was furious. It had always been his Lu family that stole other people's treasures. He did not expect that today, it would be stolen by someone else, and in such a forceful manner. Chapter 173. In Tianshui City, in the forbidden area behind the city master's residence, Feng Sha's right arm was covered in blood and bones. Evil qi filled the air and intertwined around his body. Together with his terrifying aura and the word, kill, embroidered on his shoulder, he suppressed more than 10 martial revered experts on the spot. What if I insist on taking it? A disdainful expression was filled with sarcasm and mockery as he looked at the common people with a smile. Lu Su was flustered and exasperated. He hated the stupid parrot. He did not understand how the parrot knew that there was a treasure in their forbidden area. Even Lu Ning did not know about the evil blood essence. In the entire Lu family, it was passed down from generation to generation. Fellow cultivator, you come from a wealthy family. How can you do such a thing? Lu Su was furious, but he did not dare to attack. You led the extermination of Shao Zhanqing, didn't you? You wanted the divine martial emperor's code, so you besieged Shao Zhanqing and turned it into hell. Then, you framed Yi Qinghan for not knowing how to appreciate kindness and was unwilling to share the divine martial emperor's code. Now that I want the evil blood essence, are you willing to let me take it? Or do you want me to slaughter Shao Zhanqing and report to the organization that I have exterminated a group of human sinners and obtained the evil blood essence? Feng Sha squinted his eyes. The soul devourer Tachi on his back began to tremble as if it was thirsting for blood. Lu Su and the others felt their hair stand on end. They thought that Feng Sha and Yi Qinghan were good friends and had come back to take revenge. They were shocked and asked cautiously, "Who are you? What is your relationship with Yi Qinghan?" "I don't know Yi Qinghan. I just want to speak up for him. I've already investigated part of the truth of what happened back then. Do you want me to tell you everything?" Feng Sha asked disdainfully. "What do you know? Don't try to trick me." Lu Su was shocked. Not many people knew the truth. Where did this terrifying young man come from? "I went to Monarch Xinye's palace and killed his crown prince. I obtained some useful information. For example, you joined forces with more than 100 martial venerables and even foreign experts to slaughter Shao Zhanqing. In the end, you framed Yi Qinghan. Enough. Kid, I don't care where you are from, but you are not leaving Evil Dragon Planet today." Lu Su's murderous intent rose. A beam of light flashed across the sky as he anxiously waited for Emperor Xinye's support. "Ha ha ha, even if I went to the Domain Lord's place of seclusion and wanted to leave, he wouldn't dare to stop me. You clowns. Anyone who tries to stop me will die." Feng Sha waved his right hand, and the blood evil essence disappeared. Then, his flesh and blood regrew. It was crystal clear, and the soul-devouring Tachi appeared in his hand. The evil qi was strong enough to destroy a mid-level Tao master. Boom, the qi of the Feng qi exploded. The ancestral land behind the mountain of the Lu family was razed to the ground. The tombstones were broken one after another. In the blink of an eye, it rushed out of the back mountain and affected the city leader's office. Lu Su was shocked and shouted to the crowd, "Attack in the void." Whoosh! Whoosh! More than 10 terrifying auras soared into the sky. They didn't want to fight on Shao Dragon's star anymore, as they were afraid that their clansmen would be implicated. The destructive power of a great martial venerable was too strong. This level had already surpassed the peak of the Tao Master level and entered the complete Tao Master realm. It could be regarded as a half-step immortal. It could destroy a star with a wave of its hand and kill millions of people with a stomp of its feet. Blood and bones piled up like mountains. Although Feng Sha didn't care about countless creatures, he didn't want to kill too much. With a stomp of his feet, half of Tianshui City collapsed. A terrifying crack extended for thousands of miles along the forbidden land behind the mountain. His body turned into a terrifying sword and soared into the sky. Slash! The overbearing and arrogant voice exploded like thunder. The qi rushed to all directions and reached the depths of the Milky Way. Swish! The sword light split the sky and blinded everyone's eyes, making them absent-minded. Whoosh! The sword slashed horizontally and went straight for Xiahou Yuan. Xiahou Yuan's hair stood on end. He roared and a huge sword appeared in his hand. It was 3 meters long and sharp. With a wisp of sword qi, it shattered the shackles of the sky. He used all the vital essence in his body and waved the huge sword. A huge defensive shield with a radius of dozens of meters was formed. Boom! 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 More than 10 consecutive explosions tore through everyone's eardrums. Feng Sha had actually slashed out dozens of times in the blink of an eye. His inch strike technique was not any weaker than Yi Qinghan's back then. In fact, it was even better. Hum. The huge sword let out a long hum. The ear-piercing sound spread for thousands of miles and alarmed half of the Xiaolong region. Break for me. Feng Sha was disdainful. He twisted his waist and suddenly exploded with a force of 10 million jin. He swung his right arm and forcefully broke the huge sword. More than half of the huge sword flew into the depths of the Milky Way. Only a small part of the sword hilt was left in Xiahou Yuan's hand. Puff! Xiahou Yuan's withering qi and blood boiled instantly. His vitality was dissipating more than 10 times faster than before. His white hair danced in the wind. He spat out a mouthful of essence blood and retreated a few hundred steps. It seemed like more than 10 moves, but in fact, it happened in an instant. No one had time to support him. Space-breaking chain slash. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Feng Sha slashed dozens of times. The trajectory of each slash was very strange. They were very far away from Xiahou Yuan. It seemed useless, but in fact, it was extremely terrifying. The last slash was aimed at Xiahou Yuan's real body. The sword light in front of it actually exploded and surrounded Xiahou Yuan, making it impossible for him to dodge. Shameless bastard, I sentence you to death in the name of killing. Xiahou Yuan was terrified. He stared at the last slash coming from the void. He could not dodge, he could only block it. He raised half of the sword hilt in his hand, intending to block the last slash. Boom! Poochie! Two sounds were heard almost at the same time. The soul-devouring sword descended from the void and split the sword hilt in the blink of an eye. It then slashed down from Xiahou Yuan's shoulder and directly split him in half. The soul-devouring sword flashed and directly swallowed his soul and vitality. Xiahou Yuan's corpse fell from the sky like a withered tree branch. Not a single drop of essence blood was spilled. Everyone gasped and their hair stood on end. They looked at Feng Sha in horror, as if they had seen a ghost. Xiahou Yuan was a great martial honorable. He did not even have time to display his peak battle strength. He was killed in 2 breaths. No one had time to support him. How strong was Feng Sha exactly? He was probably not weaker than Yi Qinghan back then. The soul-devouring sword swallowed Xiahou Yuan's soul and became even more terrifying. Feng Sha's black robes fluttered and emitted rays of light. It was like a celestial light was attached to him. He was accompanied by the laws and did not lose any blood. Celestial sect Taoist robes. The robes he is wearing are immortal sect robes. It's a 6th grade martial honorable. Even if we kill him, we won't be able to break his defense. Lu Su was terrified and retreated. The immortal sect robes were naturally special battle robes made by immortal sect cultivators. They had their own defensive array and could block 50 to 60% of an immortal sect cultivator's strength. 50% of an immortal sect cultivator's strength was enough to kill countless great martial honorables. However, the immortal sect robes could block it. If a great martial honorable were to attack the immortal sect robes, it would be like an ant trying to shake the heavens. It really looks like the immortal sect robes. There are laws intertwining and flowing celestial light. Who are you? There are not many people in the younger generation who have the immortal sect robes. As a member of the royal family, how can you attack us? Many great martial honorables were terrified. They wanted to use words to provoke Feng Sha's Dao heart and make him stop. I've said it before. Whoever can withstand 3 of my attacks will be given a name. I'm leaving now. Who dares to? Feng Sha was about to leave when a few rainbows appeared in the sky. Their auras were monstrous and interrupted him. Ba. Benefactor, your evil qi is so strong. You're definitely a disaster for the human race. Come with me to the Buddha and let him purify you. Azura Qian Ye's Buddhist light shot into the sky and his magic power flowed through his golden body. He was majestic. However, he was a little reckless. He didn't even understand the situation and wanted to purify Feng Sha. Such a strong evil qi. It's exactly the same as the evil qi on my son's wound. I'm going to crush you alive. Emperor Xinyi was furious. His anger almost burned the stars in the universe. He raised his sword and rushed towards Feng Sha. In an instant, more than 10 great martial honorables appeared in the sky above Owl Dragon's star. They were all people who had participated in the massacre of Owl Fall Star. They surrounded the Edge Fiend tightly. Feng Sha raised his eyebrows and smiled coldly. These people were just as Yi Qinghan had said. They were shameless and wanted to fight with numbers. Emperor Xinye's son had died tragically. He had been dismembered and tortured to death. How could he not hate him? The moment he saw Feng Sha, he knew that he was the murderer. He couldn't hold back his anger and rushed forward without even looking. Lu Su didn't even have the chance to warn him. Xiao.1 Sword Paradise pierced towards Feng Sha's chest. The void shackles couldn't stop him at all. Feng Sha laughed coldly. He didn't even dodge. Without blinking, he kept his soul-devouring Tachi and waited for Emperor Xinyi to arrive. Emperor Xinyi was overjoyed. He thought that Feng Sha was scared out of his wits. Without hesitation, he increased his speed and stabbed towards Feng Sha's chest without mercy. Boom! Feng Sha's clothes emitted an overflowing light. The laws and great Daos gathered and interweaved with lightning, blocking the crazy attacks. The 5th grade sword was imprisoned by the laws. Emperor Xinyi didn't even have the chance to draw his sword. His eyes were filled with shock. Feng Sha smiled cruelly and clenched his fist. He raised the iron wall and smashed it into Emperor Xinye's head. Boom! Wang! Kacha! Emperor Xinye's head was hit and his neck was almost broken. His broken body was like a kite with a broken string. He smashed through space and crashed towards Owl Dragon's star. His entire being was stunned. It was as if his head had been hit by a 5th grade sledgehammer. His eyes rolled back and his knowledge sea was in a mess. Even his brain juice was spurting out. A large amount of evil qi rushed into his body, causing him to lose consciousness. He was the first marshal revered to fall to such a state. Even if I killed your son, so what? Feng Sha sneered. His figure flashed and he instantly caught up with Emperor Xinyi who was falling rapidly. He lifted his leg and kicked right at Emperor Xinye's stomach, smashing him into the shape of a bow. In an instant, Emperor Xinye's broken body crashed into the ground. The ground cracked and the cracks were so deep that they couldn't see the bottom. Blood stained the ground. Shura Qianye's mouth twitched. He immediately retracted the Buddhist golden light to avoid Feng Sha's attention. Bald monk, you are the one who wants to purify me. Okay, bring me to your temple and I will cultivate with you for a while. Feng Sha laughed coldly. Feng Sha's combat strength was no weaker than Yi Qinghan's peak combat strength. With the Celestial Sect Dao robe, if the Celestial Sect didn't come out, no one would be his match. Even if all of them attacked together, they wouldn't be able to harm a single strand of his hair. The strong and overbearing aura suppressed the dozens of great martial honorables such that they didn't dare to breathe. They were afraid that he would find them. Shura Qianye's face was ashen white. He placed his palms together and chanted. Chapter 174. Feng Sha was incomparably tyrannical. His aura was so oppressive that it made it hard for people to breathe. The dozens of martial saints did not dare to look directly at him, afraid that he would cause trouble. Azura Qianyi fiddled with the prayer beads in his hand, pretending that he did not hear Feng Sha's words. He lowered his head and cut a sorry figure. Fortunately, the parrot was not here. Otherwise, it would have scolded this old monk to death. What was even crazier than the razor fiend was at the end of the stellar river. Yi Qinghan steered his cloud-piercing ship and charged at the other cloud-piercing ships without any regard for his life. He had already smashed through more than 10 cloud-piercing ships, and his own cloud-piercing ship was also in tatters. However, even though it was on the verge of collapse, it refused to fall apart. No one dared to collide with him. Lu Ning's fingers trembled. Many people had already died, but Yi Qinghan was still like a madman. He crashed into anyone who dared to block his path. His own losses were small, but the other party's cloud-piercing boats would definitely be broken. Some experts were directly killed by the collision. In the end, not even their corpses could be found. Fireworks constantly bloomed in the Milky Way. Some cloud-piercing boats lost control and were directly sucked away by the Death Stars. They crashed into the meteors, causing flames to burn the sky. It was a terrifying sight. Master, smash these bastards to death. Charge! The parrot's hot blood was stirred up. It stood at the front of the cockpit and looked through a transparent glass-like material at the hundreds of cloud-piercing boats in front of it. It was not Lu Ning who had brought people in front of Yi Qinghan. Instead, it was Yi Qinghan who had turned around and faced them. One person and one cloud-piercing boat against hundreds of cloud-piercing boats. The entire atmosphere became incomparably grand. Scatter! Everyone scatter for me. Lu Ning was shocked. She knew that Yi Qinghan definitely dared to crash into their cloud-piercing boats. Once the cloud-piercing boats exploded, everyone would be affected. Not a single person would be able to escape. Everyone's cloud-piercing boats cried out in alarm through their communication talismans. Their hair stood on end as they scattered, creating a distance of at least 1,000 meters between them. Yi Qinghan grinned coldly. The cloud-piercing boat hung in the air as he stared at Lu Ning. Open the messaging charm. I want to talk to you. Lu Ning shouted through the air. Her expression was terrible. Yi Qinghan was incomparably cold. Now that Lu Ning already knew his identity, the words in the messaging talisman would definitely reveal his identity. If it was intercepted by an expert, the consequences would be very dangerous. Talk to her. Knock her over. Seize the cloud-piercing boat. The parrot clamored. It really wanted to personally pilot the cloud-piercing boat and fight a great battle against them. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment. Lu Ning was ultimately a bomb that could blow him to smithereens at any time. Beep! Yi Qinghan opened his transmission amulet and said, I don't believe in transmission amulets. Let's find a quiet place and have a one-on-one battle. All right. Killing intent flashed in Lu Ning's eyes. She then said to the others, the rest of you, back off. Don't follow me. This battle is mine alone. Everyone's expression changed slightly. In the end, they obeyed Lu Ning's order and chose to retreat. Whoosh! Lu Ning steered the cloud-piercing boat alone and soared into the sky, heading towards the end of the void. Yi Qinghan followed closely behind. Both of them were filled with killing intent. Yi Lingyu steered the cloud-piercing boat forward, forming a triangular formation that pressed towards the depths of the universe. The others were stunned. On one hand, it was because of Lu Ning's order. On the other hand, they didn't dare to face the madman Yi Qinghan again. He didn't care about his life at all. Moreover, the way he steered the cloud-piercing boat was much more advanced than the others. It wouldn't be a problem for him to fight against 100 people alone. Yi Qinghan noticed a cloud-piercing boat on the right flank. When he saw the symbol on the cloud-piercing boat, he knew that Yi Lingyu had also chased after them. His heart couldn't help but feel heavy. Master, we're in front. We'll choose the location of the battle. We'll definitely have an advantage. The parrot's eyes shone brightly as it squinted at the endless universe. Dead stars filled the galaxy. Starlight flickered. Dead stars kept exploding. Meteors streaked across the sky and shot towards the end of the universe. 30,000 miles away, there was a dead star rotating at high speed. It was huge. Its great path was 10 times more stable than the evil dragon star. Its gravitational force was 1,000 times stronger than the evil dragon star. When meteors flew past, they were forcefully sucked in by the gravitational force and smashed into countless deep pits. However, the dead star didn't show any signs of exploding. It was obvious that its density had reached a terrifying level. The gravitational force was like a crack in space, tearing apart meteors and objects floating in the void. This dead star had become the most dangerous starry sky garbage dump. Even Tao sovereigns couldn't escape the gravitational force as long as they entered its atmosphere. The gravitational force here was enough to crush a Fate Palace realm cultivator to death. If a Tao sovereign's body wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't be able to move even an inch. The parrot had a special premonition about spiritual treasures or great tribulation of heaven and earth. Suddenly, a star chart flashed across its mind. When it saw the dead star, its eyes lit up. In terms of physical strength, who could resist Yi Qinghan? In such a place, ordinary people wouldn't have much combat strength. However, Yi Qinghan could at least rely on his physical strength to fight. He could kill high-level cultivators as easily as cutting vegetables. Rush over to the left wing. There's a good place there, the parrot shouted. Yi Qinghan didn't hesitate to change his mind and rushed toward the dead star. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning were shocked and rushed over as well. 3 meteors pierced through the sky and traveled thousands of miles in a flash. It was only 30,000 miles, so it only took half an incense stick to burn. There seemed to be a lot of meteors in the vicinity. The floating objects flew by at a speed even faster than the cloud-piercing ship. The cloud-piercing ship was also hit hard. Brother, don't go. It's dangerous in that direction. Yi Jianma suddenly opened her eyes and looked into the distance. She shouted hurriedly. Yi Lingyu was shocked. If Yi Jianma was so anxious, then it must be very dangerous. Just as they were about to stop, the cloud-piercing ship suddenly lost control and broke through the atmosphere of the dead star. No matter how they struggled, they couldn't escape being torn apart by the dead star. Yi Qinghan's cloud-piercing ship cut through the air. Flames soared into the sky. Within the control cabin, Yi Qinghan frantically controlled the cloud-piercing ship, hoping to slow it down. Otherwise, just the impact alone would be enough to kill them. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning's cloud-piercing ship lost control at the same time and crashed into the dead star. Flames instantly submerged the cloud-piercing ship. Shock finally appeared in Lu Ning's eyes. She was no longer in control of her own life. She clenched her teeth and veins popped out all over her body. She cursed inwardly, "Madman. You're a madman. If you want to kill us, don't drag yourself down with you." Yi Lingyu was enraged. A fierce light flashed in his eyes. He shouted to Yi Jianma beside him, "Protect yourself. The pressure of this dead star is enough to crush your body." Yi Jianma gripped broken flute tightly. Panic surged in his eyes. He looked at the meteors that constantly fell from the sky and streaked past him. He felt that he would definitely die this time. Even if he didn't die from the fall, he would be smashed to death by the countless meteors. "Yi Qinghan. You forced me to do this." Boom boom boom, the sky rumbled. The great Tao space was extremely stable. Even after facing such a terrifying attack, the space didn't distort at all. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. Only now did he understand just how powerful the pressure of this dead star was. He couldn't help but glare fiercely at the parrot. "Damn, it's even more terrifying than I imagined. We're finished." The parrot was shocked. He felt that the situation had gone beyond his control. Hundreds of thousands of meters in the sky, in less than half an incense stick's worth of time, they had fallen to less than 1,000 meters above the ground. The veins on Yi Qinghan's azure dragon arm popped out. He punched through the distorted cabin door, grabbed the parrot, and jumped down. Combine. Armor transformation. Whoosh. Screech. Yu Qinghan's huge wings flapped in the sky, and the crazy falling force broke the wings of the god-slaying eagle. A shrill scream came out of Yu Qinghan's mouth, echoing through the celestial river. Yu Qinghan couldn't care less. The god-slaying eagle was his last life-saving straw. Even if he had to exhaust the last bit of the god-slaying eagle's vitality, he had to stabilize his body. Whoosh! The god-slaying eagle closed its wings and rushed to the ground. 1,000 meters in the sky wasn't a distance at all. In the blink of an eye, it touched the ground. Yu Qinghan once again used all his strength to spread his wings and reduce the recoil speed. With a roll, he dissipated most of the remaining force. After the god-slaying eagle screamed, it fainted. Its wings shrank back into its body, and there was no more sound. Boom boom boom, Yu Qinghan's body crashed into rocks continuously. All the golden bones in his body were broken. He was bathed in blood and sweat, but his eyes were wide open. He was afraid that he would be crushed to death if he didn't fall to his death. If he was crushed to death by a meteorite, that would be even worse. The parrot didn't seem to be afraid of the pressure of gravity. It flew up once it landed. It couldn't help but exclaim, "Not bad, this place is not bad. It doesn't affect me at all. Am I really the destined divine martial beast emperor?" Ha ha ha. Yu Qinghan's eyes flashed with anger. The parrot was a trap, a divine trap. It pointed out a huge trap for him, and he actually jumped into it. Less than 1,000 meters in the sky, Yilingyu rushed out of the cloud-piercing ship with Yi Jianma in his arms. The fifth-grade spirit vibration wings roared and were instantly torn apart by the tearing force. Then, a second wing spread out, and then a third. 1,000 meters in the sky, Yilingyu destroyed a total of 6 fifth-grade spirit vibration wings. Just as he landed, in order to protect Yi Jianma, his legs were broken, and his body was covered in blood. Then, with an angry face, he roared, "Yu Qinghan, you're a madman." Lu Ning was in an even more sorry state. She fell heavily to the ground. If it wasn't for her strong willpower, she would have fainted. At this time, whoever fainted would die. There were too many meteorites. It was like a meteor shower, constantly falling from the sky. Yu Qinghan kept dodging, battered and exhausted. His body was crushed until his skin and flesh were torn open. His true essence consumption was 1,000 times faster than outside. We're finished. This is a land of death. Yi Jianma was fine under Yilingyu's protection, but her face was pale. She looked around and said sadly, "There will always be a place to survive." Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and glared at the parrot. He coldly shouted, "Quickly find a safe place." Boom, a huge meteorite fell from the sky, smashing straight at them. Whoosh! They no longer cared about their true essence consumption. They mobilized their true essence and rushed in a direction. The flames on the meteorite almost burned it to ashes. The heat wave swept them away. The 4 of them fell to the ground in a sorry state. Only the parrot was extremely graceful. It turned its head to look at the huge pit and exclaimed, "What a big pit!" "Yes. What a big pit. You're a godly pit. This must be the place you're looking for." Yilingyu roared. Yu Qinghan's face was also full of anger. At this time, not to mention killing people, it would be lucky if he could escape this disaster. Chapter 175. The Death Star was full of danger. Meteors kept falling, and the star was covered in flames. The heat was unbearable. The 4 of them were in a difficult situation. They were on guard against each other for fear of being attacked. Boom, 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 more and more meteors fell. Even if a small piece hit them, they would die without a burial place. The parrot smiled awkwardly and didn't dare to say anything. It was the one who had found this place and had asked Yi Qinghan to come here. It hadn't expected that it would also be trapped here. It couldn't even fly out. Once the spirit crystals and food ran out, they would all starve to death. Practitioners did not need to eat, but they ate very little. Especially those who had not reached the Tao Master realm, they still needed a lot of food to replenish their qi and blood. The four of them ran with the parrot. Yiling Yu was in the most difficult situation. He not only had to protect himself, but also had to waste a lot of genuine core strength to protect Yi Jianma. Fortunately, he had enough spiritual crystals to support him for a while. Otherwise, he would have given up. It was as if the whole star was a dead land. There were only flames and meteors. The four of them and the parrot rushed back and forth, facing the threat of death at any time. Now, even the parrot was not arrogant. It looked into the distance with confused eyes. Yi Qinghan and the others breathed rapidly. Their bodies were exhausted. The terrible gravity made them feel exhausted and difficult to move. This was a holy land for body cultivation. Unfortunately, they could not find a safe place. It was a dead land. Moreover, if Yiling Yu and Lu Ning were not strong enough, they would have died. How could they cultivate their bodies? The blood in Yi Qinghan's body boiled, burning his qi and blood to support his physical body's movements. The spirit crystals were quickly consumed, and gradually, his body could no longer absorb spirit qi and convert it into true essence. If this continued, his foundation would be damaged if he didn't recover. Divine bird, quickly find a safe place. Yi Qinghan was a little anxious and said in a low voice. Cough, cough, I'm looking for it. This godforsaken place has no spiritual qi. It's driving me to death. The parrot was embarrassed. At this time, it was the most powerful one. The others could not even use their divine senses. Brother, I can't. Yi Jianma's divine senses were scattered and her body began to crack. Yiling Yu was so angry that he wanted to kill the parrot. Now, he could only give up on his own defense and help Yi Jian defend. The mountain rocks on the ground were all iron ores. They were terrifyingly dense, making it difficult to move. Those with weaker bodies would be crushed into fine powder. Lu Ning's clothes were simple, but no one wanted to take another look at her. Yi Qinghan, I was wrong about you. How dare you send us to our deaths? Lu Ning was furious, but her voice was hoarse and weak. Since you all want to kill me, don't blame me for wanting to kill you. Yi Qinghan replied coldly. Lu Ning was at a loss for words. During the chase, she realized that Yi Qinghan was like a madman. She would never be able to grasp his heart. While struggling, she had indeed developed killing intent. Since both of them had killing intent, there was no need to blame each other. Ah, there's a treasure. There's actually a treasure in this trashy place. Let me go see what it is. The parrot flapped its wings and shuttled through the meteor flames, quickly rushing into the distance. The four of them narrowed their eyes. They didn't immediately choose to follow. Instead, they suspected that this fellow would send them into an even bigger pit. However, Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and followed without hesitation. Yiling Yu and Lu Ning had no choice but to follow. After galloping for about 2 hours, Yi Qinghan's legs went soft. Even though Lu Ning and Yiling Yu were supported by their powerful realms, they were about to go crazy. Finally, a ray of hope appeared in front of them. This caused their blood to boil and their eyes to shine. The Creator was mysterious. Where there was life, there was death. Where there was yin, there was yang. On such a dead star, there was actually a pure land. A towering dark metal mountain range towered into the sky. It was completely bare, without even a single weed. There was actually a crack in the middle of the mountain range, completely separating the mountain range. The gap was 7 or 8 meters at most. After passing through the crack, there was actually life on the other side of the mountain range. Trees similar to iron trees stood tall and proud. There were at least several thousand of them, big and small. This place had become a forbidden area for meteorites. The gravity was not so exaggerated. The four of them couldn't help but breathe out a mouthful of foul air and collapse on the ground. Yi Jianma fainted directly. However, Yi Qinghan and the others didn't dare to fall asleep. They all looked at each other vigilantly. Wow! These trees are treasures. They are definitely harder than 5th grade combat weapons. They are good materials for refining weapons. Unfortunately, I can't break them. Otherwise, I would have taken them all. The parrot's eyes were shining. It couldn't wait to pounce on them. Divine Dipper Wood, 6th grade. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He lay flat on the ground and looked around. His eyes were full of astonishment. Divine Dipper Wood was a 6th grade material for refining weapons. There were thousands of them here. If he could get one of them, it would be comparable to a small star. Yi Lingyu leaned against the Divine Dipper Wood and hugged Yi Jianma. His mind was scattered. He was so tired that he couldn't speak. However, he didn't dare to close his eyes for fear of being attacked by Yi Qinghan. Lu Ning also looked at each other. She was excited to find the Divine Dipper Wood. At the same time, she was thinking about how to deal with Yi Qinghan. The gravity here was frighteningly strong. True essence couldn't determine the outcome. Only the physical body could. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu might be able to crush Yi Qinghan in terms of realm and true essence. However, Yi Qinghan's physical body could crush them. Yi Lingyu, should we work together? Lu Ning wanted to fall asleep, but she didn't dare. She found that Yi Lingyu was the same. She couldn't help but suggest. Yi Lingyu looked at Yi Qinghan and then looked at the exhausted Lu Ning. He couldn't help but nod and say, okay. You rest for 2 hours. I will defend. When Lu Ning heard this, she let out a sigh of relief. She lost the will to defend herself and immediately fell asleep. Yi Lingyu gritted his teeth and persevered. This feeling was similar to a mortal who didn't sleep for 3 to 5 days. Their mental will was on the verge of collapse. They could sleep on any bed they wanted until the end of time. Yi Qinghan was slightly better, but not by much. His realm was the lowest and he had the least amount of true essence. He was completely relying on his physical body and will to fight. Divine Bird, protect me. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Okay. Don't worry. If they dare to make a move, I will burn them one by one. The parrot ran between Yi Qinghan and Yi Lingyu. It stared at Yi Lingyu without blinking. Yi Qinghan fell into a deep sleep and self-repair. Spirit crystals were placed around him. The spirit crystals turned into spirit chi and squeezed into Yi Qinghan's body. Under such high-intensity tempering, the speed of improvement of the golden body was terrifying. Unfortunately, Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning did not dare to temper their physical bodies at this time. Otherwise, their physical bodies would grow quickly and not lose to Yi Qinghan. Time gradually passed. 2 hours later, Yi Lingyu woke Lu Ning up and fell into a deep sleep. Yi Jianma also woke up. She took out a 5th grade golden divine pellet that was filled with great Tao markings and was absolutely priceless. She swallowed it without feeling the slightest bit of pain. It was clear that her identity was not ordinary. Her foundation was far more than that. Damn, what an awesome elixir. The parrot drooled and wanted to snatch it. Lu Ning also saw Yi Jianma swallow the level 5 elixir. She couldn't help but be shocked. Even an ordinary expert in the Tao Master realm could not afford such an elixir. There were not many rich and powerful families like the Lu family. It was impossible for a junior like her to get it. Yi Jianma swallowed it like candy. Who is this little girl? She has been following Yi Lingyu all this time. Her foundation is so strong. Lu Ning took a deep breath and muttered to herself. Lu Ning couldn't figure out her identity, but she could guess that Yi Jianma must be a direct descendant of a senior in the Tianya Valley. Otherwise, it was impossible for her to have a level 5 elixir. Yi Qinghan's golden body was flowing with divine light. His physical body was getting stronger and stronger. He was only half a step away from breaking through to the fourth step of the Tao Insight realm. As long as he was prepared, he could easily enter the Fate Palace realm on such a dangerous Death Star. Lu Ning also began to heal her injured body. She swallowed a large number of elixirs and her genuine vitality was replenished. The parrot did not dare to attack without permission. Its physical body was not strong. It relied on speed and divine sense. If it was caught, it could be killed by anyone. 4 hours later, Lu Ning and Yiling Yu woke up at the same time. Although their combat strength had not returned to its peak, it was definitely enough to deal with Yi Qinghan. Yi Jianma opened her pure eyes and looked around curiously. Looking at the boundless divine dipper wood, she was also speechless. If such a precious place was discovered by a big force, they would definitely send super experts to mine it. This is the only place of life on this star. If we can't cultivate to the Tao Master realm in a short time, we will probably starve to death. Yi Jianma whispered. Yi Qinghan, how much reserve food did you bring? Let's cooperate. We'll talk about it after we get out of the Death Star. What do you think? Yiling Yu suggested in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan looked at the interspatial ring. There were 10 million middle spiritual crystals and 120 upper spiritual crystals left. The rest of the spiritual crystals were left on the Owl Fall star. As for food and spiritual fruits, there was not much left. They could only last for half a year at most. It was almost impossible for them to cultivate their physical body to the point where they could break free from the Death Star in half a year. It can last me for half a year. There are enough spiritual crystals, Yi Qinghan said in a hoarse voice. Lu Ning looked at her interspatial ring and looked a little pale. She didn't have much food in reserve. In addition to the elixirs and spiritual fruits, she could only last for 3 or 4 months at most. Yiling Yu was even worse. He didn't bring much food with him, and he had to share it with Yi Jianma. It would be good if they could last for a month. After talking about their own food reserves, they looked a little pale. If they wanted to get out of here alive, they would have no chance if they didn't cooperate. Once they cooperated, they would have to share the food equally. In this way, they could only last for 4 months at most. The parrot hid behind Yi Qinghan and didn't speak, for fear of attracting others' attention. However, Yiling Yu still found it. This parrot didn't bring any food? I remember it has an interspatial ring. Yiling Yu stared at the parrot and was a little confused. The parrot was angry. How could it share its food with them? What was more, even if they were given 4 months, they couldn't break free from the Death Star. It was better to preserve their strength. Maybe they could escape. Chapter 176. The parrot glared at Yiling Yu and angrily said, "You want to steal bird food? Are you a man?" Yiling Yu clenched his fists. This was a matter of life and death. Not to mention bird food, even dog food would be snatched. Not to mention, this parrot's food was not ordinary. Most of it was spirit fruits. Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows. He didn't know how many things were in the parrot's yin and yang ring. More importantly, he vaguely remembered that he gave it no less than 20 yin and yang rings. Give them to me. When I get out of this dead star, I'll pay you back double, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. The parrot was helpless. Its small claws shook and at least 10 yin and yang rings fell out. Yi Qinghan and the others' eyes lit up. Yi Qinghan picked up the yin and yang ring. After it recognized its owner, he glanced around and couldn't help but look at the parrot. Yi Qinghan was sweating. There was everything in the yin and yang ring. In addition to countless spirit fruits, there was also a large number of spirit pills. Although the grade wasn't high, it was enough to satisfy his hunger. Looking at the last 4 yin and yang rings, Yi Qinghan couldn't help but ask, "Where did you get so much monster meat?" The parrot was extremely pained, but this time it had made a great contribution. It couldn't help but boast, I took it from the armory of Tianshui City's City Lord Mansion. How about it? At critical times, you still need to rely on this divine bird. How much? Lu Ning and Yilingyu asked in unison. Just the meat alone is enough for us to eat for 2 years. There are probably tens of thousands of spirit fruits. Half of them are red leaf fruits, excellent for replenishing vitality. Yi Qinghan smiled. Although the parrot was a trap, it was still very useful at critical times. Lu Ning and Yilingyu sucked in a breath of cold air. This parrot was really a trap. Tianshui City's armory had almost been emptied out by it. But at this time, they should be glad that the parrot stole from the armory. Otherwise, they would all starve to death. Humph, I'll let it go this time. If you steal from my family again, I'll kill you. Lu Ning coldly snorted. Little girl, if you dare to show off again, I'll teach you a lesson. The parrot retorted disdainfully. Lu Ning's breath stagnated and the corner of her mouth twitched. She was actually a little afraid of this godly trap. This bird was too cheap. It was so cheap that it made people scratch their heads. Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice, all right, we have enough food now. Let's all cultivate and strive to break free from the gravitational shackles of this place within 2 years. Cultivate? Could it be that you're not interested in 6th-tier divine wood? The corners of Yilingyu's lips curled up as he stared at the thousands of divine dipper trees. Chopping down divine trees at this time will waste a lot of time. As the saying goes, don't forget to sharpen your knife when chopping wood. I'm going to the outside world to train and temper my body. It's up to you whether you want to come or not. Yi Qinghan reminded them calmly. Then, Yi Qinghan took off all the Qian Kun rings and put them aside. He said again, I can't guarantee that I'll be able to come back alive after tempering my body this time. If you leave here, it's best to leave the Qian Kun rings behind and bring only a small amount of food. Otherwise, you'll only waste a lot of food if you die outside. If you really die, you'll leave a chance for others to live. Yilingyu and Lu Ning nodded. Yi Qinghan had the most food. If he was willing to do so, they shouldn't object. Divine bird, stay here and guard the Qian Kun rings. Don't let anything happen to them. Yi Qinghan was very cautious. The Qian Kun rings were left here. If something happened to the food, no one would be able to survive. Don't worry. With this divine bird here, even if a super fierce beast appears, it won't be able to snatch the food away. The parrot said solemnly. Yilingyu looked coldly at the parrot and reminded Yi Jian, Ez, don't listen to half a word this parrot says. You stay here and cultivate. I'll go outside and temper my body. The parrot rolled its eyes and scolded angrily, you bunch of ingrates. If it weren't for this divine bird, you would all starve to death. Now you're saying that you can't believe half a word I say. Has your conscience been eaten by dogs? The corner of Yilingyu's mouth twitched. They didn't want to reason with the parrot. There was no reason at all. Yi Qinghan smiled. He held the devil dragon saber and rushed out of this place of vitality. As soon as he left the canyon, the pressure multiplied. It was difficult to move an inch. Countless meteors fell. Some meteorites flew past a few hundred meters away from him. The heat waves were unbearable. His 4th-grade battle robe was shattered, leaving only a layer of violent bear's soft skin to wrap around his lower body. Yilingyu's clothes were of good quality, but the outer robe was also melted by the heat. Lu Ning was calm and composed. She stood outside and continued to temper her body. She had the bearing of a man. Yi Qinghan and the others casually glanced at them. Their flesh was constantly broken. Their bodies and vital essence were frantically mobilized to heal their injured bodies. The cycle repeated over and over again. It was extremely painful. However, every time they tempered their bodies became stronger. The 3 of them were in pain and joy. They gradually entered a state of cultivation. The world here was simply hell on earth. It was extremely terrifying. Other than them, there were no other creatures. The dark ground emitted a terrifying suction force. Even the light couldn't break free from the shackles. The sky was gray and the void was majestic. It was incomparably magnificent. On a mountain peak in Tienya Valley, a white-haired old man with a sage-like demeanor was sitting cross-legged. He seemed to be in a deep sleep. His white robe didn't move at all. He was the head of Tienya Valley's Yin-Yang division, Tianjizi. At this moment, his eyes opened. Bright light pierced through the sky. His fingertips were constantly revolving. The law of great Tao and the mystery of heaven revolved, shocking the heaven and earth. Lightning struck across the sky, but it was blocked by a law. Why did Yitzi run to a dangerous place? Tianjizi was furious. His body trembled and appeared in Tienya Valley's martial arts field. He shouted in a low voice, "Tienya Valley, where's your precious disciple? Where did you take my granddaughter?" The gravity of that dead star was extremely strong. Even the great mystery of heaven couldn't break free from the shackles. Tianjizi could only detect that Yi Jianmo was in a very dangerous situation, but he couldn't see the specific location. His mood immediately became heavy. I also feel that they are in a very dangerous situation. However, I tried to see through the mystery of heaven through the 8 trigram sky formation. But the mystery of heaven didn't leak out. I can't detect it. I need to investigate to determine where they are. Another terrifying existence appeared in Tienya Valley. He could see through the mystery of heaven in an instant. Tienya Valley had a total of 2 divisions, the 8 trigrams division and the Yin-Yang division. The two had never separated from each other since ancient times. Therefore, Tienya Valley was one of the most terrifying forces in Shaolong region. Sometimes, the region master would come to visit in person. Tianjizi soared into the sky and went straight to the center of Shaolong region, Shaolong Star. At this moment, Feng Sha's robe fluttered in the wind. Immortal light flowed as he looked down on everyone. Shura Qianye didn't dare to raise his head. "Fellow cultivator, it's a misunderstanding. I misspoke just now. Please don't blame me." Shura Qianye touched his Buddhist prayer beads. Sweat poured down like rain. "Misunderstanding? I'm very murderous. I'm definitely the bane of the human race. Did I hear wrongly?" Feng Sha sneered coldly. "Ba, this old monk, this little monk misspoke." Azura Qianyi muttered, his face pale. Feng Sha's combat strength had already reached the pinnacle. Coupled with the immortal sect Taoist robe, unless the domain lord personally came out of seclusion, even the star lords of the major planets could only lament their inadequacy. They did not dare to make an enemy out of him. Feng Sha sneered disdainfully. This kind of person bullied the weak and feared the strong. He could only cultivate to the great revered realm in this lifetime. Just as he was about to raise his hand to suppress him, his eyes suddenly turned cold as he looked into the distance. Boom! 2 terrifying auras descended and shrouded Shaolong Star. Even Feng Sha's expression changed. He raised his head and looked into the void. 2 sage-like figures floated over and glanced at the crowd coldly. When they saw the word "kill" on Feng Sha's shoulder, their hair stood on end and their white hair danced in the wind. So it's a branch of the Tianji sect. "Seniors from Tienya Valley, Feng Sha is here to greet you." The arrogant Feng Sha's tone softened as he cupped his fists and said, "So it's... Fellow cultivator, it's an honor for the Shaolong region to be here. I didn't know and didn't come out to greet you. I'm really sorry." Tianjizi's expression changed slightly as he returned the greeting. "Senior Tianjizi, you don't have to be so polite. I just happened to pass by and found a treasure. It's a pity that these people would rather bury the treasure than benefit the human race. They're really sinners of the human race." Feng Sha's sarcastic words made Lu Su's face turn purple. However, he didn't dare to refute. If I kill these sinners of the human race, the 2 seniors and the region master of the Shaolong region won't blame me, right? Feng Sha looked at Lu Su and Azura Yi Qinghan with a mocking expression. He wanted them to personally experience how Yi Qinghan felt at that time. Lu Su was so angry that his whole body trembled. He finally understood how angry Yi Qinghan was back then. It was really karma. It wasn't that the karma of the great Tao didn't come back. It was just that the time hadn't come yet. Tian Jizi smiled faintly. He knew that Feng Sha was trying to find some reason for Xiao Zhanqing. Naturally, he wouldn't refute Feng Sha's words. There was no such thing as fairness in this world. The one with the biggest fist was the absolute truth. These juniors don't know any better. Fellow cultivator, you don't have to lower yourself to their level. Just teach them a lesson. Killing them will only tarnish the glory of your sect. Tian Yazi looked at the crowd with disdain. Then, he asked coldly, did you see where my good disciple Yilingyu went? Hurry up and tell me. Lu Su and the others were shocked. Yilingyu had followed Lu Ning to chase after Yi Qinghan. Could it be that there was a problem? Lu Su was worried about Lu Ning's safety and quickly explained the situation. This made Tian Jizi and Tian Yazi anxious. Senior, did something happen? Feng Sha frowned. The reason why he took action was because he felt that Yi Qinghan was very qualified to join his organization. It was hard to find someone who could join their organization in the entire star field. Once they found a suitable candidate, the organization would give them a large amount of contribution points. At the very least, they could exchange for a 5th-grade supreme treasure. He didn't want anything to happen to Yi Qinghan along the way. Yilingyu and Ez fell into a land of death at the same time. There is no life there. The terrifying gravity made it impossible for the great Tao of Heaven to break free. This is equivalent to blocking the great Tao of Heaven. We can't calculate their exact location at all. Tian Jizi said in a deep voice. When Feng Sha heard this, a bright light flashed between his eyebrows. His figure moved, and he sped in the direction that Yi Qinghan had escaped. Chapter 177. Hearing this, Feng Sha's eyebrows shone brightly. His figure moved and he sped towards the direction Yi Qinghan had escaped. Tian Jizi and Tian Yazi were even more anxious. They wanted to find Yilingyu and Yi Jianma as soon as possible. It seemed that they were very important to Tianya Valley. Along the way, hundreds of cloud-piercing ships hovered in the void. Seeing the 3 terrifying existences speeding towards them, they immediately made way for them. Not long after, Lu Su also caught up. He shouted at a Lu family expert, "Where are Lu Ning and the rest?" "Master, Her Highness ordered us to wait here." She and young Master Yilingyu went after Yi Qinghuang alone. The young master of the Lu clan replied respectfully. "I sensed their aura. They went that way." Tian Jizi quickly pointed in a direction. It was indeed Yi Qinghan's escape route. The 4 of them were as fast as lightning. Lu Su was much slower, but he still did not give up. After all, Lu Ning was the strongest among the Lu family's younger generation. It was very likely that she would become a great revered martial artist. She was crucial to the Lu family. After an hour, Tian Jizi stopped. He frowned and kept pinching his fingers. However, the surrounding Great Tao and Heaven's secrets were all blocked and absorbed. There was no trace of Yi Jianma's aura. This dead zone was filled with stars. It was extremely strange and blocked the Great Tao of Heaven's secrets. In a hurry, one would not be able to see anything. However, once one entered, the stars would move and the experts would be lost forever, floating in the endless universe. Tian Jizi and Tian Yazi's eyes lit up. They both discovered this problem and exclaimed in unison, "When did such a dead zone appear here?" The universe was vast and there were too many unknowns. An entire star area mysteriously disappearing or appearing had never happened before. No wonder Tianjizi and Tianyizi were so shocked. Feng Sha's fingertips moved and the soul devourer Tachi hummed softly. It shook the space inside the dead zone. He found that the space inside was exceptionally stable. It was many times stronger than Shaolong region. He could not help but be shocked. If this star area could survive, it would definitely give birth to countless experts. You can't set foot in this star area. At least you can't set foot in the immortal realm. Otherwise, you're courting death. Tian Yizi's expression changed. He was certain that the four of them had entered this dead zone. As for which star they had no idea. Damned bastard. Tian Jizi's face was filled with anger as he glared at Lu Su. He wished he could slap Lu Su into the death zone. Senior, about this. Lu Su smiled bitterly. The Lu clan had been down on their luck these days. The supreme treasure of the clan's forbidden area had been taken away by someone else, and now their genius was in a dead end. They were even hated by powerful cultivators. This place is indeed too dangerous. It is very easy to get lost. Go back and ask your region lord for help. Feng Sha said in a deep voice. On the dead star, Yi Qinghan and the others were frantically tempering their bodies. Their cultivation was advancing at a tremendous pace. In the celestial dipper divine woods, the parrot and Yi Jianma stared at each other. Yi Jianma put away all the cosmos rings and said with a wicked smile, "Hee hee, I've decided not to share my food with you. I'll let you starve to death. You damned bird, how dare you do this? Brother and sister Lu Ning will beat you to death." Yi Jianma glared at the parrot. Don't be arrogant. My master is a great martial venerable. Even if he is no longer a great martial venerable, his soul is still there. His body is much stronger than Yiling Yu and Lu Ning's. In this star, your brother and Lu Ning's bodies are nothing. The parrot mocked. Yi Jianma guessed Yi Qinghan's identity. He was a supreme existence in the past. It was natural for him to be afraid. After being frightened by the parrot, his face turned pale. What do you want? Yi Jianma pouted and asked with dissatisfaction. Hee hee, if you want to live, you have to exchange 5th grade divine pills for food. 1 cosmos ring for 1 5th grade divine pill. At most, I can give you 5 rings. You can't exchange more than that. The parrot deliberately said as if a ring was worth a lot. In the outside world, 1 5th grade divine pill could be exchanged for a small star. In this dead land, it was indeed priceless to exchange for food. Yi Jianma certainly understood the value of 5th grade divine pills. However, he also understood the importance of food at this moment. There were also spirit fruits that could replenish water. These things could not be bought even with spirit crystals. Do you want to buy or not? If you don't want to buy, then forget it. When master comes back, I won't sell. Let's go our separate ways. This is the place I found. You must leave. The parrot took the opportunity to threaten. Yi Jianma was intimidated. He repeatedly said, I will buy. However, I only have 5 5th grade divine pills. They are all life-saving treasures. I can't give you all of them. I will give you 3 in exchange for 8 cosmos rings. No, I can give you 5 at most. There are a lot of flesh and spirit fruits here. The parrot's eyes lit up. It was somewhat unsatisfied and immediately bargained. 7 cosmos rings, no less. My 3 5th grade divine pills can at least buy the owl falling star outside. Yi Jianma pursed his lips and said. 6. You said that we are outside. This is a dead star. There is no food here. The parrot was still not satisfied. 7, then 7. Yi Jianma was slightly angry. This parrot was indeed a cheap bird. Now he completely understood that it was too good at raising prices. Okay, okay. Since you are so cute, I will take a little loss. Who told me to be a divine bird? I have to be a little generous. The parrot's face was full of pride. It stretched out its hand and threw out 7 cosmos rings. Then it waited for Yi Jianma to hand over the 5th grade divine pills. Yi Jianma was extremely simple. He did not want to play tricks. He reluctantly handed over the 3 brocade boxes and glared at the parrot. It had made a lot of money from this deal. Thank you, thank you. Happy cooperation. The parrot quickly rushed to Yi Jianma. Its small claws flashed with golden light and sucked away the 3 brocade boxes. Then it immediately retreated and said, "Little beauty, don't tell them. Just say that we hit it off at first sight and I gave it to you. If you dare to say anything, we will fall out and go our separate ways." The corners of Yi Jianma's mouth twitched. His fingertips trembled. The broken flute in his hand emitted a monstrous golden light and a melody echoed. What? You want to hit me? This divine bird has followed my master through many trials and tribulations. Even an 8th grade Kuei ox couldn't do anything to me. You dare to attack me? The parrot moved away from Yi Jianma and climbed onto a divine dipper tree. It hid under a branch and glared at Yi Jianma. Outside the canyon, flames streaked across the sky and crashed into the ground. The area within 100 miles trembled. Huge craters appeared one after another. It was extremely terrifying. Yi Qinghan was sweating profusely. His blood and bones emitted a golden light. His blood vessels and veins were bulging. He was so tired that he could not breathe. He knew that he could not continue tempering and had to rest. Otherwise, he would be easily killed by the meteorites. Even if he did not die, if Yilingyu and Lu Ning wanted to kill him, he would not have a chance to escape. Yilingyu and Lu Ning had already retreated to the valley to recover their blood and qi. Their speed of improvement was much faster than Yi Qinghan. After all, their bodies were not particularly strong, so there was a lot of room for improvement. However, Yi Qinghan was different. His body was already very terrifying, so there was little room for improvement. Yi Qinghan held a piece of iron stone and retreated to the valley. He was going to use the iron stone to refine his right leg and forge his body into a peerless weapon. Looking at the countless meteorites, Yi Qinghan began to collect them in large quantities. These meteorites were definitely the best material to forge a 5th grade combat weapon. After a few days, he would cut down a divine dipper tree and forge a 5th grade or 6th grade 7-foot berserker. It would definitely be harder and sharper than the berserker in his previous life. There was no life here, but there were treasures everywhere. Yi Qinghan was not anxious at all. In terms of body, Yilingyu and Lu Ning could not surpass him, so there was no need to worry about danger. At this moment, his realm was stuck between the Fate Palace realm and the 4th step of the Grotto Heaven realm. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry. He wanted to lay the most solid foundation in the Grotto Heaven realm and be truly invincible within the same realm. At the very least, he had to surpass the combat strength of the same realm in his previous life. After tempering his body, Yi Qinghan collected some meteorites and retreated to the valley. He began to refine his true essence and sea of aura. His soul was constantly strengthening, and his combat strength was multiplying. The divine martial imperial codex in his consciousness appeared again. The chaotic land on the other side of the Sea of Bitterness rumbled and shook violently. Lightning flashed as if the universe was being reborn. The starlight was embellished, and the rules of the Great Tao became clearer. Yilingyu and Lu Ning were awakened by Yi Qinghan's current aura. They realized that there was a layer of golden light 10 meters around him, which kept them out and prevented them from getting close. Yilingyu and Lu Ning's expressions turned even uglier. Once Yi Qinghan had the strength to crush them, would he really cooperate with them in order to keep his secret? If he killed them on this dead star, no one would be able to find out. Xiaolong region, Xiaolong sacred mountain. It was vast and undulating, and the aura of desolation filled the air. It was incomparably majestic, and the spiritual qi around it was extremely dense. If one could cultivate here, he could travel 1,000 miles in a day. It was definitely a holy land that countless practitioners yearned for. Tian Jizi, Tianyazi, and the others flew across the sky and landed on Xiaolong sacred mountain. They were quickly stopped by several Tao masters. Oh, it's the two seniors from Tianya Valley and Taoist Lu Su. This Taoist is. The experts on Xiaolong sacred mountain saw several people rushing over. They were all big shots of Xiaolong region, so they did not dare to offend them. They hurriedly bowed and saluted. When they looked at Feng Sha, their pupils shrank. They could not recognize where this expert came from. Ask Nangong Yuanhong to come out and see me. Feng Sha said coldly. How dare you? How dare you call my region master by his name? The experts on Xiaolong sacred mountain were furious. They waved their hands to suppress Feng Sha. Get lost. Feng Sha waved his hand, and the evil qi filled the air. It shocked the entire Xiaolong sacred mountain and defeated several Tao masters. He shouted coldly, if I don't call him by his name, do I have to call him ancestor? Ask him to come out and see if he dares to let me call him ancestor. Several middle-level Tao masters did not even have a chance to resist. They were directly sent flying by his palm. The evil qi entered their bodies, and they spat out several mouthfuls of essence blood. They looked at Feng Sha in horror. Dragon 17:18, go and ask the region master to come out. Tell him that I have something important to discuss with him. Tian Jizi said in a deep voice. Senior, it's not that I don't want to give you face, but the region master specifically told us not to disturb him unless Xiaolong region suffers a destructive attack. Dragon 17, who was the leader, looked pale. He bowed and said. Nangong Yuanhong, come out. Feng Sha did not care so much. The region master of Xiaolong region was not the same as the region master of his star region. Moreover, Nangong Yuanhong was only in the Immortal Gate realm. He was a supreme existence in Xiaolong region. But in the endless universe, he was nothing. Chapter 178. In the Xiaolong sacred mountain, the heavens might rolled and spread for thousands of miles. A terrifying aura was constantly rising and reviving, causing all living beings within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles to float up and down. Feng Sha's face was solemn and his eyes were like torches as he stared at the sacred mountain. A figure was majestic as if he was in harmony with the heaven and earth. His words and actions were accompanied by the great Tao. The immortal sect's Taoist robe was swaying in the wind, making flapping sounds. His eyes contained many vicissitudes of life. In the Xiaolong region, a immortal sect was born every few thousand years. It was very rare for two immortal sects to appear in the same era. This showed how noble he was and how talented he was. Nangong Yuanhong approached from afar and appeared in front of everyone. He looked like a middle-aged man in his 30s. He was vigorous and mature and had an indescribable charm. However, his actual age was definitely more than 1,000 years old. The reason why he still looked like this should be because he was very young when he entered the Tao Master realm and rebuilt his body. So it's kill. Nangong Yuanhong stared at the embroidered word on Feng Sha's shoulder. His voice was hoarse and there was awe in his eyes. He was not in awe of Feng Sha, but of the organization behind him. Don't spread it. Feng Sha coldly interrupted Nangong Yuanhong. Why are you looking for me? Nangong Yuanhong asked faintly. Lord Nangong, Tian Jizi has something to ask of you. Tian Jizi bowed and said. Tian Jizi, why are you not comprehending the heaven's secrets in Tianya Valley? What's more, is there anything in the Xiaolong region that you can't predict? Nangong Yuanhong frowned and asked. Lord Nangong, do you remember that I brought back a baby 10 years ago? Since then, I have a granddaughter called Egnmo, Tian Jizi secretly transmitted his voice to Nangong Yuanhong. I remember. I have been in seclusion since the banquet. What happened that made you so cautious? Nangong Yuanhong asked curiously. Actually, that little girl wasn't an orphan that I picked up. She's a direct descendant of one of the higher-ups of the Heaven's Secrets sect. The Tianji sect calculated that she only had a slim chance of survival, which was in the Xiaolong region. That was why they asked me to bring her back and adopt her. But now she is missing. I can only find out that she is now in a dead area. Beside her are Yiling Yu, the disciple of Tian Yatzi, and Lu Ning, the current young highness of the Lu family. As for the other one, he is called Yiqingquang. I don't know where he came from. I am worried that Egnmo will be in danger, so I want to beg you to help and bring them out. Tianya Valley will definitely repay this great kindness. I will also report it to the Heaven's Secret sect and record it as a meritorious deed. Tianji Zi respectfully requested. Nangong Yuanhong's body trembled. He didn't expect that the 8th grade Heavenly Fortune sect would be involved in this matter. A random expert from such a huge sect could crush Xiaolong region with a stomp of his foot. Moreover, there was the addition of the Edge Fiend. This organization might be even more terrifying than the Heaven's Secret sect. Why did you come here? Nangong Yuanhong stared at the Edge Fiend and asked in a deep voice. My purpose is the same as his. However, the person I want to save is Yiqingquang. This person has hopes of joining my organization in the future. The Edge Fiend said indifferently, that dead area is very dangerous. I am worried that I will get lost inside. Therefore, I came here to ask for your help. I will remember this favor. What? This Yiqingquang is qualified to join your organization. What is his background? How come I don't know when such a genius appeared in the Xiaolong region? Nangong Yuanhong trembled. He knew very well what kind of talent was needed to join the organization behind the Edge Fiend. Immortal sects like his didn't have the qualifications. They only looked at talent and battle strength of the same level. You don't have to worry about this. In short, if you save him, not only will you receive a reward from the Heaven's Secret sect, I will also promise you that in the future, I will help you once if it is within my power. The Edge Fiend replied proudly. Fellow Taoists, please take me to that dead area. I will go and take a look. Nangong Yuanhong was excited. As long as he helped once, he would receive a favor from 2 terrifying large organizations. Why not? The group of experts sped all the way. Lu Su was completely left behind and could only return to the Xiaolong Star to wait for news. On the dead star, Yiqinghan was crazily training his body. The demon dragon saber that weighed a few thousand kilograms was waved smoothly as if it wasn't affected by gravity. The Big Dipper saber radiance was released and a ripple appeared in the space. Swish, swish, swish. Swish, swish, swish. Pa, Lu Ning was bold and unrestrained. She didn't care about her shyness anymore. She waved her divine whip and the sound was crisp and vast. Occasionally, she would desperately attack a speeding meteorite and her body would be smashed into the distance. Her body was covered in wounds that healed continuously. Every time she was injured, she would improve tremendously. Her battle strength wasn't inferior to a body refiner expert. Swish, 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 she was dripping with sweat and her twin peaks were trembling. She was extremely charming. Her golden silk soft armor could only cover her lower abdomen and sides. Her snow-white skin looked frightening but was actually shockingly flexible. Yiling Yu waved his saber and used his true origin. The spatial fluctuations he caused were even more terrifying than Yiqinghan's. A huge meteorite was slashed 3 times in a row and was directly cut in half. Flames shot out in all directions and became incomparably stable. The 3 of them worked day and night to break through as soon as possible. Yiqinghan, Fight with me. At this moment, in this dead area, I won't take advantage of you. Yi Lingyu issued a challenge. Good. As you wish. Let me see how much your saber Dao has improved. Yi Qinghan's upper body was broad and broad. His skin was shiny and suffused with a bronze color. Divine light flowed around his long legs that were comparable to combat weapons. His arms were even more terrifying after absorbing a lot of metal. His azure dragon arms held the demon dragon saber tightly as if they had merged into one. He was now 185 meters tall and was a few months away from 20 years old. However, his soul was already more than 400 years old. At this moment, he looked incomparably vigorous. Please enlighten me. Yi Lingyu exuded a domineering aura. He did not hesitate to use his true origin to wrap his saber. Divine light shone brightly as the sharp saber chi cut through the space and disappeared without a trace. I'll teach you a few moves. Yi Qinghan flipped his arm and the demon dragon saber became sharp and fierce. Killing intent soared to the sky. Lu Ning hugged herself and prepared to watch the two fight. This was all experience. Being able to watch two peerless geniuses fight was definitely more useful than cultivating bitterly for a few months. The three of them were originally struggling to move, but now they could move freely and even fight here. Obviously, they had adapted to the gravity here. The speed of their improvement was shocking. They did not know how long they had spent here. This star was so vast that a revolution day was quite long. One day here could be more than 10 days in the outside world, or even longer. Continuous improvement made them full of confidence and invincible aura. This stage was very important, especially for Yi Lingyu. As long as he could defeat Yi Qinghan, he would definitely advance by leaps and bounds in the future. From then on, he might even break through to the realm of Dao Master. He might even be invincible among his peers. Their eyes met and sparks flashed. Yi Lingyu gathered his strength and slashed the air with his saber. Swoosh! The saber radiance broke through and the aura rushed to Yi Qinghan. Dragon slaying style. Boom, 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 Yi Qinghan's long hair was blown back by the aura. He twisted the ground with the tip of his foot and raised the demon dragon saber from bottom to top. He flipped the saber and slashed horizontally. Extreme space-breaking style. Heat waves surged to the sky. The two of them had the aura of unparalleled strength. Their blood boiled and their veins bulged. The saber radiance broke through the air silently and the earth trembled slightly. Boom! At this moment, the two of them were competing with their techniques and explosive strength. Then, they crazily collided with each other. The sound was deafening. Their black hair surged and pierced through the void like steel needles. The rebounding force caused their perlicues to explode. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Their golden battle bones were exposed and the impact spread to their entire arms. Thud, 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 the two of them took a few steps back at the same time. The earth kept shaking, but there were no cracks. It was obvious how strong the internal mass was. It was at least hundreds of times stronger than the Xiaolong planet. Golden light circulated and quickly healed the flesh on his arm. Yi Lingyu relied on his physical body and some of his vital essence to fight Yi Qinghan until both of them were injured. Seeing that Yi Qinghan was injured and retreating, Yi Lingyu couldn't help but smile with satisfaction. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up. He said coldly, "Are you satisfied with this? Let me show you the way of the saber." Saber God Chapter, Violent Attack, who could compete with it? Yi Qinghan's aura became violent and overbearing. His black hair danced in the wind. His 5 fingers almost pierced into the saber hilt and became one with the saber. He was cold and arrogant. The aura of the demon dragon saber erupted as if a demon dragon had appeared, intimidating thousands of miles away. Violent attack. The world shall submit. Swish, 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 Yi Qinghan used the extreme divine dragon steps and the violent saber technique at the same time. Countless saber radiances shook the sky and enveloped Yilingyu. Peak combat strength. Yilingyu revealed his invincible combat stance. His vital essence covered his arms as vital essence filled his body. He held the saber with both hands and allowed the saber radiances to cut his skin. He slowly raised the saber and gathered the momentum of heaven and earth. His figure rose and was indomitable. Savage saber technique, 9 sabers in 1. Swish. 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 Yi Qinghan's peak combat strength was against Yilingyu's peak combat strength. Their auras surged and Lu Ning was blown back several steps. Her breathing was rapid and her breasts were undulating. Her eyes were filled with shock and unwillingness. She thought she could fight them head-on, but she didn't expect the aftermath to defeat her. A battle of foundations. 2 golden dragons appeared out of thin air and tore at each other. The 2 sabers crossed and pierced through a huge meteorite with an ear-piercing sound. Their blood and bones were broken as blood spurted out from their 7 orifices. What was left of their clothes were torn apart and their bones were covered in blood. The demon dragon saber shook crazily and shook at least 10,000 times in an instant. It directly cut the divine saber in Yilingyu's hand into 2. The 2 bodies collided and flew backward while coughing up blood. Both sides were injured. Yi Qinghan fell heavily to the ground and heard a few cracking sounds. At least 4 of his ribs were broken. The piercing pain penetrated his soul and made his face as pale as paper. Yilingyu was even more miserable. Although he suppressed Yi Qinghan in terms of cultivation level, the gap between their souls was too big. Moreover, the gravity on this dead star was too strong. Cultivation level was useless. He still had to rely on his physical body. In addition, the saber in his hand was inferior to the demon dragon saber. Even if the demon dragon saber was sealed, the saber's edge could still break his weapon. Cough, 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 Yilingyu coughed up a few mouthfuls of blood essence. Although he was slightly weaker, his invincible aura didn't decrease. Instead, it increased. The invincible supreme battle king of the past could now make him cough up blood. Chapter 179. Yi Qinghan's vigorous qi and blood coursed through his body, repairing his ribs. He stood up slowly and looked at Yilingyu coldly. He realized that Yilingyu was indeed invincible among those of the same level. He might not have used his full strength, but he should be invincible among those of the Life Palace realm. However, he was still unable to defeat Yilingyu. Not bad. You're improving fast, Yi Qinghan said in a hoarse voice. He was exhausted after using half of his strength in 2 moves. You're not bad either. You're only slightly injured. Yilingyu said proudly. He did not want to injure Yi Qinghan. He wanted to defeat Yi Qinghan completely. Yilingyu moved his finger and a broken guqin appeared in his hand. It looked like it would be blown away by the wind, but it made Yi Qinghan's hair stand on end. Yilingyu was a king-ranked existence with 2 types of weapons. Very few people could force him to use his full strength. However, today, in order to suppress Yi Qinghan, he had used his full strength. If he joined forces with Yi Jianma, they would definitely be peerless existences in the same realm. Lu Ning did not stop them. She retreated to the center of the valley and stared at the 2. Yi Qinghan held the hilt of his saber and stared at Yilingyu. The power of the broken guqin was not to be underestimated. It was an ancient weapon and the sound of the guqin could break the defense of a 5th-grade armor. If the guqin and the flute were to be played together, one would attack the soul and the other the body. There was no need to defend at all. Come, let me see where your peak combat strength is. Yi Qinghan stomped on the ground and turned into a sharp sword, charging at Yilingyu with his saber in hand. Whoosh, the devil dragon saber opened a path and the saber radiance danced in all directions. The stable void was almost shattered. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The horrifying sound of the guqin pierced through the air. It was sharper than a fifth-grade saber and cut through the void. It pierced through everything and headed straight for Yi Qinghan. Boom, 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 the sound of the zither turned into a blade and collided with the blade. The force of the impact spread out in all directions, creating a deafening sound. The man and the saber became one, and everything became a saber. The sound blades converged into a terrifying war saber, which was held by a skeleton phantom. It slashed viciously at Yi Qinghan, and the heat waves in the air changed the shape of their muscles. Seize God. The saber slashed open the sky, which immediately healed. However, Yi Qinghan had already rushed 10 meters away and crashed into the gigantic sound blade. The demon dragon saber danced and destroyed the sound blade as easily as crushing dry weeds. After breaking through the giant blade, he continued to slash the skeleton. Boom! The skeleton shattered, and countless sound blades surrounded Yi Qinghan, instantly breaking through Yi Qinghan's physical defenses. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the sound blades were unstoppable. They cut Yi Qinghan until his flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Even his azure dragon arm was covered in bloody wounds. His waist, thighs, and even his face were covered in bloody scars. It was an extremely cruel scene. Yi Qinghan's eyes were ferocious and almost cracked. He held the demon dragon saber so tightly that it almost changed shape. He danced madly and shattered a large number of sound blades, but there were still a few that caused him great damage. It was as if he was being dismembered. Every time he took a step forward, he would be attacked by more than 10 sound blades. He was going all out. His 10 fingers were spurting blood and his bones were covered in blood. He almost broke 7 strings of the zither. Every time he attacked, he would inflict 10,000 damage to the enemy and 8,000 damage to himself. The 10 fingers were connected to the heart. Only he could understand the heart-wrenching pain. Buzz! Heaven and earth's killing intent converged as the sound of the zither rang out. It was terrifying. Blood sprayed into the air and was burned into nothingness in the blink of an eye. Yi Jianma and the parrot could sense the terrifying killing intent outside, so they hurried out of the canyon to see 2 people fighting with monstrous battle prowess. Their techniques were peerless, and they seemed to have no regard for their own lives. Their hearts sank. Yi Jianma's small hand trembled. She held the broken flute in her hand and immediately alerted the parrot. "What are you doing? Are you joining forces to bully my master?" the parrot asked vigilantly. "Humph." Yi Jianma snorted and said coldly, "Do you think everyone is as bad as you?" Just as the man and the parrot were confronting each other, an angry roar resounded through the void. Elemental profound meaning blessing. Hua, the terrifying element of darkness was everywhere and flooded the battlefield in an instant. It rushed toward Yilingyu's body with a huge corrosive force. Yilingyu was shocked. He released his monstrous true essence and tried to keep the terrifying element of darkness out of his body. However, the element of darkness was everywhere. It was everywhere and crazily tore at his chi, blood, and vitality. The sound of the zither was disrupted and became fiercer. However, the accuracy of the attack was slightly off. Boomerang saber. 12 styles of leaving hand stance. Extreme Dao flipping saber stance. Yi Qinghan struck out at least 10 moves in an instant. His speed was like moving clouds and flowing water. It was terrifying. Blood flowed from all over his body. He turned into a peerless god of war. His body left the ground temporarily and descended from the sky to suppress Yilingyu. Yilingyu was furious. His 5 fingers pulled 7 strings and turned them into a sky-shooting divine crossbow. He suddenly let go and the sound of the zither turned into a terrifying divine weapon that crashed toward Yi Qinghan. Break for me. Blue veins popped out all over Yi Qinghan's body. His strength suddenly increased and gathered in his arms. He ruthlessly smashed Yu Qinghan's sound blade. The sharp blade almost penetrated his body. Golden blood spurted out and his blood and bones were all exposed. However, Yu Qinghan did not retreat. Instead, the demon dragon saber kept vibrating and smashed onto the broken zither. Buzz! The zither strings and the demon dragon saber vibrated at the same time, shattering the bones in their hands. The heart-wrenching pain caused them to throw the weapons in their hands at the towering iron mountain. However, they did not shatter. Yu Qinghan's iron bones emitted a golden glow. Using his elbow as a saber, he swept across Yi Lingyu's neck at lightning speed. One with the saber. Everything was a saber. His body was a saber. Every part of his body was a saber. Yu Qinghan had achieved this step. Boom! Yi Lingyu had no time to dodge and could only extend his arms to block. His two arms collided like battle weapons. Yu Qinghan was powerful and Yi Lingyu suffered a terrifying pressure. His leg bones were broken and he half knelt on the ground. His kneecaps were shattered. He supported himself with one hand and resisted with all his might. He was unwilling to submit. Kacha! Yu Qinghan exerted his strength again. His invincible physical body battle stance burst forth and directly broke Yi Lingyu's right arm. He lifted his leg and kicked towards Yi Lingyu's head. The iron leg suppressed the heavens. This kick was enough to break a top-grade 4th-grade spiritual sword. If it hit Yi Lingyu's head, it would definitely break his neck. Yi Lingyu gritted his teeth and endured the pain. He crossed his arms and blocked the iron leg. Boom! Pft! His arms blocked the leg bones, but they still could not block the leg. Yi Lingyu's body was kicked into the air and fell towards the center of the canyon. He spat out a mouthful of essence blood in midair. Yu Qinghan was bathed in a river of blood. His entire body was covered in wounds. His right arm was covered in blood and bones. He clenched his iron bones and regenerated his flesh. He raised his iron fist and smashed it towards Yi Lingyu's chest. Lu Ning was shocked. She could not allow Yu Qinghan to kill Yi Lingyu. Otherwise, she would not be a match for him alone. Pa! The divine whip transformed into a flood dragon and tore through the void. It cleaved towards Yu Qinghan. The energy tore through the void. If it struck Yu Qinghan's arm, it would definitely sever his right arm. Stop! Retreat! Lu Ning wanted to force Yu Qinghan to retreat, but Yu Qinghan's eyes were like torches. His right fist did not change its momentum. His left hand formed a palm and grabbed at the divine whip. Pa! The divine whip penetrated his body and wrapped around Yu Qinghan's body. However, Yu Qinghan also grabbed the middle of the divine whip and pulled hard, pulling Lu Ning's body towards him. How could Lu Ning's physical body be a match for Yu Qinghan? She flew towards Yu Qinghan. Yu Qinghan's left hand gripped the divine whip and suddenly clenched it into a fist. His legs crushed the hard ground as his fists transformed into lightning that struck towards the two's chests. Lu Ning and Yi Lingyu's pupils contracted. They never imagined that Yu Qinghan's physical body would be so terrifying. His willpower was even more terrifying. Regardless of whether it was his attack techniques or secret techniques, he far surpassed them. The two of them were still defeated despite joining forces. Yu Qinghan used the same amount of quintessential essence, but the strength he erupted with was more than twice their strength. Flames erupted from the friction between his iron fists. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived in front of the two. The fist force caused their chests to change shape and was about to pierce through their hearts. Woo woo woo, a terrifying sound that seemed to come from hell struck Yu Qinghan's soul and heart. Yu Qinghan's complexion suddenly changed. He felt as if his soul and heart had been struck by a divine hammer, as if they were about to explode. He immediately gave up on attacking and his figure flashed as he retreated. The terrifying sound came to an abrupt end. Yi Jianma immediately used all of the quintessential essence in her body to grab at Yilingyu and Lu Ning. She was sent flying back over 10 meters by the force of the impact. Yi Qinghan stared at this 10-year-old little girl. His pupils shrank. He never imagined that her flute music could reach such a level. Senior Yi, this junior didn't mean to sneak attack you. Please don't blame me. I was just worried that big brother and big sister Lu Ning's bodies wouldn't be able to withstand your fist. Yi Jianma pursed her lips and felt very embarrassed. She pleaded softly, you are a senior. We agreed to cooperate and leave this place of death together. Yi Qinghan's divine sense was scattered. His soul was exhausted to the extreme. Blood gushed out from his body, but he still stood proudly. He coldly looked at Yi Jianma's pure eyes and nodded. With a wave of his hand, he took the demon dragon saber in the distance and quickly returned to the divine dipper tree forest. He sat cross-legged on the ground and was about to meditate to heal his wounds when the parrot excitedly threw out a brocade box. It was the level 5 divine pellet that he had swindled from Yi Jianma. Here you go. I will protect you. Heal quickly. This little girl is very powerful. I'm afraid I'm not her match. The parrot said hurriedly. Yi Qinghan opened the brocade box. All the pores on his body opened. A terrifying spiritual energy stirred up his blood and qi. His injuries were actually healing rapidly. This is... Yi Qinghan was shocked. Although he had never seen a level 5 divine pellet before, he knew that it could revive the dead. Even his broken bones could be healed quickly. Don't ask. Eat it quickly. This is the only one I have. To protect my master, I will give it to you. In the future, when you have a bright future, don't forget to reward me with 180 level 6 divine pellets. The parrot said seriously. Yi Qinghan did not want to ask any more questions. He swallowed the divine pellet directly. A terrifying divine power instantly spread to his limbs and bones. His wounds healed quickly and his ability to produce blood increased by 1,000 times. His blood and qi increased by many times. His flesh and blood were quickly regenerating. The bottleneck of the Fate Palace realm was broken in an instant. He had broken through to the Fate Palace realm. His sea of qi and sea of consciousness expanded at the same time. His genuine core energy condensed into a liquid state like a vast ocean. The stored genuine core energy was comparable to that of an ordinary Tao master. His combat strength increased by 100 times. Yi Qinghan could not help but groan. The intense pain in his soul was also gradually subsiding. This feeling was 10,000 times more exhilarating than flying into the sky. The feeling of breaking through. The feeling of his strength skyrocketing. The feeling of being invincible among his peers. It made Yi Qinghan want to stand up and roar. His long hair danced wildly. He opened his eyes and a sharp light pierced through the rainbow like a sword. Chapter 180. Yi Qinghan looked down at the three of them arrogantly. At this moment, he had absolute confidence. You can rest and recover. I won't sneak up on you. Yi Qinghan rushed out of the canyon with his saber. He wanted to use the power of the level 5 divine elixir to strengthen his body. At this moment, Yi Qinghan didn't need to worry about being betrayed. He was in a deadly situation now. If he could escape, his realm would be close to the realm of Tao Master. Coupled with his unparalleled combat strength, he could go back to Owl Falls Star and cooperate with Gu Qingyu to defend the place. If he killed the three of them now, his Taoist heart might be affected. After all, Lu Ning had allowed him to tamper with her memories. Even if she regretted it now and wanted to kill him, she had to repay his kindness first. As for Yilingyu, there was no enmity between them. In his previous life, Yilingyu only wanted to defeat him and solidify his Taoist heart. Seeing Yi Qinghan leave, Yilingyu and Lu Ning knew that he was so strong that he did not need to worry about being betrayed. This kind of person was too scary. Except for the people around him who could cause him great harm, it did not matter whether others betrayed him or not. He has become so strong. Lu Ning gasped. She felt that Yi Qinghan's combat strength in this life might be stronger than his in his previous life. I wanted to step on him to reach the peak, but I didn't expect that he would step on me. Yi Lingyu's voice was hoarse. His eyes flashed with unwillingness to admit defeat. He clenched his iron fists and shouted in a low voice, I will definitely defeat him. In this life. Yi Jianma's mouth twitched. He knew that Yi Qinghan could break through so quickly and become so strong because of his level 5 divine elixir. However, he was worried that Yi Qinghan would fight with them again, so he chose to remain silent. Yi Qinghan rushed out of the canyon and waved the devil dragon saber wildly. Shadows of heavenly dragons roared. He used the true solution of ultimacy to carve the void law in the void. With a slight shake, the stable void law was shattered. His combat strength increased by more than 100 times. Swoosh! Swoosh! The saber radiated boundless light and the strength blew the sand and stones into the air. Swoosh! Swoosh! Boom! Yi Qinghan's body slammed heavily into the ground. His flesh and blood splattered everywhere, but with a flip of his body, he charged up again. His blood was boiling. The medicinal effects of the divine pill were fully unleashed. The more he fought, the braver he became. He was terrifying, overbearing, and arrogant. Who would dare to compete with a meteorite? Yi Qinghan dared. The water profound true meaning was wrapped around his body. The water in this place was so scarce, but it was forcefully squeezed dry by him. The dark elemental profound was attached to the devil dragon saber, which was indestructible and corrosive. It was like a demonic saber, which was incomparably terrifying. His corporeal body was constantly exploding and reassembling. His strength seemed to be inexhaustible. It was constantly being consumed, but it was also constantly growing. 1 million caddies, 3 million caddies, 5 million caddies, the azure dragon arm transformed into a true dragon and coiled around the demonic dragon saber. Man and saber became one. Yi Lingyu and the others stared at Yi Qinghan in the distance. He was like a madman who did not care about the consumption of his true essence. When his true essence was exhausted, he used his corporeal body. When his corporeal body was exhausted, his true essence was regenerated. His sea of qi was like an ocean, rolling and roaring. It was as if it wanted to drown the universe and shatter the firmament. It was enough to suppress any expert within the third step of the Fate Palace realm. The parrot had a smug look on its face. It was hanging on a fulcrum above the cliff, leaning against the mountain and tapping its legs with its thighs. It was afraid that no one would notice it. Tisk, tsk, tsk. Master is really awesome. No wonder he is the master of the divine emperor of beasts. Yi Jianma glared at it and murmured, stupid bird, you're so cheap. What divine emperor of all beasts? You're just a spirit-eating divine eagle. Don't use your smart brain on the right path. Do you really think no one can see through your background? The parrot was stunned. It was the first time someone had recognized its identity. Oh, you actually know my true identity. I am ashamed, ashamed. The parrot was indeed surprised. This race was already extinct. It would be difficult to find another one in the universe. It did not expect this little girl to recognize it. Shameless. You are the most shameless creature I have ever seen. No matter if it is a human, a demon, or an evil spirit, no one can fool you. Yi Jianma mocked it with disdain. Ha ha ha, you flatter me. Why don't you see where this divine bird comes from? Any one of the wise almighty from where we come from can use their intelligence to suppress you. The parrot laughed arrogantly. Time travel. Where are you? Where are you from? Yi Jianma frowned and asked. You are a frog in a well. The endless universe is so vast. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. The parrots suddenly stopped and did not want to say more. Outside the dead region, stars exploded one after another. Countless meteors were hurtling through the sky, crashing into the stars one after another, setting them ablaze. Volcanoes erupted and rushed into the starry river. It was a dead starry region. Perhaps it had just been born, without the slightest bit of vitality. Nangong Yuanhong arrived in front of the dead region with 3 experts. He stared at the starfield and frowned. He asked doubtfully, I have been to every territory of the Shaolong region. There was a small ancient star here before. Although there was no sign of life, there was life. However, it disappeared. Can you cross this dead region with your strength? Feng Sha asked in a deep voice. This starfield is a newly born dead region. It is hard to say. The dead stars here are moving quickly. It is a natural 8 trigrams formation. It is easy to get lost. Even a formation master like Tianyatsi would find it hard to get out of this dead region. Nangong Yuanhong's expression was heavy. After thinking for a moment, he felt that even if he was lost here, he would still be able to get out. Thus, he decided to take a risk. With a flip of his wrist, a white ball of silk appeared. He stared at Tianjizi and said, this old man will go in and give it a try, but there must be a guarantee. This is the 1,000 thread snow, it is endless and extremely tough. Even I can't cut it. I will hold the 1,000 thread snow, you guys hold the end of the thread. Good. Don't worry. Yixi's life is more important than mine. The 3 of us have people we want to save. We will not give up on the thread. Tianjizi promised in a deep voice. I am not worried that you will give up on the thread. Even without the 1,000 thread snow, I can still come back. However, this is more cautious. Nangong Yuanhong said indifferently. Then, Tianjizi took the thread and Nangong Yuanhong stepped into the dead region. The surroundings suddenly changed. It was completely different from what they saw before they entered. Yi Qinghan and the others were flying quickly and did not look carefully. Otherwise, they would have noticed it. Nangong Yuanhong continued to release 1,000 threads of snow to break through the wind and waves, rushing into the death zone. His divine sense spread out in all directions, searching for suspicious stars. However, he found countless meteors and dead stars, but none of them could be called a danger zone. Whoosh! Countless meteors gathered in one direction and formed a terrifying meteor shower. They flew past Nangong Yuanhong and made him curious. Nangong Yuanhong followed the meteor shower. He did not know how long he had been traveling. However, it was at least more than a month. The scene in front of him changed many times. If it was not for the 1,000 thread snow in his hand, he would not have much confidence to go back. Although the 1,000 thread snow was said to be endless and could penetrate through the star field, it was still limited. The snowball was getting smaller and smaller. It was about to be sucked dry. Nangong Yuanhong's expression was somewhat ugly. If he could not find any trace of them, he could only retreat. Suddenly, the meteors changed course and formed a huge arc. They rushed in one direction again. Nangong Yuanhong looked over and found a huge star was rotating at high speed. It was about 100,000 miles away from him. The pressure suddenly increased, making his body somewhat unstable. The gravity was getting stronger and stronger. The tearing force made more meteors rush there. It was like a moth flying into a flame. Nothing could escape from his restraint. Nangong Yuanhong's expression changed. He found that he had lost control of the great Tao and space law. He was like a mortal here. It was difficult to escape from the restraint. Bang! Nangong Yuanhong's immortal robe emitted great Tao patterns. The immortal light overflowed into the sky and resisted the tearing force of the gravity. His aura erupted as he struck out with his palm. The tearing force immediately disappeared. He immediately soared into the sky and rushed to the other side to avoid the Death Star. The Death Star did not move according to a trajectory. Instead, it was rampaging without any rules. It did not know how many stars it had smashed into. It forcefully absorbed them and merged them into one. The area of this Death Star was getting bigger and bigger. The gravity was also getting stronger and stronger. Sooner or later, it would devour the entire death zone and then Xiaolong region. Nangong Yuanhong was shocked. He knew that this was not good. This Death Star was not as simple as he thought. He exerted his strength and pulled the 1,000-thread snow straight. He frantically escaped to the outer region. Bang bang bang, the Death Star seemed to have eyes. It charged straight at Nangong Yuanhong and smashed dozens of Death Stars along the way. The terrifying scene was overflowing. Flames filled the sky in the death zone. Nangong Yuanhong used stellar transposition. He shattered the void and disappeared quickly. The Death Star seemed to be unable to find the existence it wanted to devour. It began to crazily smash into the surrounding Death Stars. Outside the death zone, the expressions of the three experts changed. They were both shocked and scared. Nangong Yuanhong's reaction was too intense. 1,000-thread snow was pulled taut and almost broke Tianjizi's arm. Feng Sha hastily extended his blade and wrapped it around 1,000-thread snow. He frantically pulled her back. What did he encounter? Why did he come back in such a hurry? Feng Sha's calm expression finally changed. Something that could make an expert of the immortal realm lose his head out of fear must be something big. Did he find Yi Jian-mo and the others? The three experts waited patiently. Their eyes were fixated on the death zone. However, other than the vast starry river, there was no trace of experts. Bang! A huge hand that covered the sky shattered the starry river. Nangong Yuanhong broke through the sky. His whole body was covered in golden light. His face was deathly pale. Esteemed Lord, what happened? What is going on in this death zone? Tianjizi asked hastily. There is a very terrifying Death Star that is devouring other Death Stars. It is constantly growing. The current scale is already beyond my ability. The gravity there is enough to suck me in and I can't fly out. I must go to the outer region and ask for help from an even stronger existence to shatter this Death Star. Nangong Yuanhong said in a deep voice. Are Ez and his children also on that Death Star? Tianjizi was shocked. If an expert of the immortal realm couldn't fly out, how could they escape? Chapter 181. The Death Star sped along and rotated at high speed. However, it was so huge that Yi Qinghan and the others who were on the Death Star could not sense it. After Yi Qinghan cultivated his physical body, he stared at the barren planet. This was a planet that was even more barren than the wilderness. Nothing had been born yet, except for a few thousand sixth-grade divine dipper trees. He had to admit that the endless universe was mysterious and vast. There were too many unknowns. The gravity was so strong that ordinary people could not survive. Even cultivators would be crushed to death by the gravity. Yi Qinghan stood proudly against the wind. He realized that something was wrong. He frowned and said in a low voice, "Why is the pressure here getting stronger? I've been cultivating for so long, but I don't feel relaxed. Instead, I feel heavier." This planet absorbed more and more Death Stars and became denser. The gravity also became stronger. In the end, even the last piece of land with life would be crushed to death. Even the divine dipper trees would not be able to survive. Do you feel it too? The pressure here is getting stronger and stronger. It has already spread to the canyon. The planet will swallow us sooner or later. We have to find a way to leave this place quickly. Although he lost to Yi Qinghan in a life-and-death battle, his Tao heart became stronger and his combat strength improved by leaps and bounds. He had already reached the Tao Master realm and was unparalleled in power. In the outside world, he could fight above his level. Yi Qinghan retreated to the canyon and said in a low voice, "If we want to leave this place, we have to learn the law of gravity. Otherwise, even if we break through to the Tao Master realm, or even the Great Martial Venerable realm, we won't be able to leave this place." The law of gravity was illusory and the hardest to cultivate. It was not something that could be done overnight. Everything in the world had something that could suppress it. Since the divine dipper trees could survive here, they could naturally overcome the gravity. They must know the law of gravity. Thousands of divine dipper trees gathered and pushed the gravity of this land out of the canyon. Towering mountains rose from the ground and blocked meteors from passing through. Therefore, the canyon became a place of life. Yi Qinghan stared at the divine dipper trees and decided to cut down one to comprehend the law of gravity. The demon dragon saber appeared in his hand. At this moment, it became dignified and solemn, as if it was about to break the seal. The saber blade flowed with divine light and shone for thousands of miles. "Master is mighty," the parrot clamored. Yi Jian grumbled coquettishly. She couldn't wait to grab the parrot and ravage it. "All of you, back off to the side. I don't know if cutting down the divine Big Dipper wood will attract their attacks," Yi Qinghan said sternly. "Yizi, come to your brother." Yi Qinghan's aura flickered as he poured out his quintessential essence to protect Yi Jian. He kept a distance of 30 meters from Yi Qinghan. Lu Ning also retreated to the side. Only the parrot was lying on the branch of another heavenly dipper divine wood with a face full of excitement and anticipation. Yi Qinghan gripped his saber with both hands, tightly gripping the saber hilt. True essence filled his arms, causing the veins on his azure dragon arms to bulge. This saber strike was enough to split open the heavens, but he didn't have much confidence in breaking through the defense of the divine astral wood. He crossed his legs and suddenly burst forth. The demon dragon saber whistled through the sky and pierced through the sky. It passed through the canyon and suddenly disappeared. Even the sound of the gravity outside could not be transmitted out. It was obvious how terrifying the pressure had become. Boom! The ground was crushed by Yi Qinghan. He twisted his waist, and the saber flashed with a cold light as it ruthlessly slashed at the divine astral wood in front of him. The divine astral would seem to have sensed danger. Its trunk moved, and the surrounding pressure suddenly increased by 1,000 times. Yi Qinghan's body collapsed, and blood splattered on the spot. However, his soul trembled as if it had sensed the law of gravity. However, a divine light flashed, and it disappeared without a trace. The pressure was still the same, and the saber's momentum slowed down. It crashed into the divine astral wood's trunk. The divine astral wood was unharmed, but Yi Qinghan was forced back dozens of meters. His azure dragon arms exploded, and his golden bones were exposed. Yi Qinghan's expression changed. His quintessential essence flowed through his body, quickly healing his injuries. He once again stepped towards the divine astral wood. The gravity disappeared in a flash, and Yi Qinghan revealed a smile. The divine astral wood was indeed a 6th-grade divine item. It had actually cultivated the law of gravity by itself. Yi Qinghan stabbed his saber into the ground and mobilized his soul in his sea of consciousness to forcefully summon the divine martial imperial codex. He was prepared to forcefully absorb the law of gravity into his sea of consciousness the moment the divine astral would use the law of gravity. He would then slowly comprehend it. This way, it would be much easier to comprehend the laws. Yi Lingyu and Lu Ning frowned. They couldn't understand what Yi Qinghan was trying to do, but they had an inexplicable sense of trust in him. They felt that he could do whatever he wanted to do. The divine martial imperial codex stood proudly in the sea of consciousness and hung in the air. It was like a divine spirit looking down on the mortal world. The pages automatically flipped and emitted a divine light that was filled with thousands of laws. Yi Qinghan's body was almost transparent. Divinity radiated in all directions, and his might was overwhelming. Hum. Yi Qinghan drew his saber and stepped forward to crush the ground. He once again attacked the divine astral wood. Boom, 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 the void exploded. The demon dragon saber broke through the air. This attack contained Yi Qinghan's full strength. The divine astral wood trembled even more violently. The law of gravity turned the surrounding dozens of meters into a boundless hell. The pressure was enough to crush a Tao master. Swoosh! The Divine Martial Imperial Codex flipped many pages. The law of gravity appeared. With a flash of divine light, it forcefully absorbed all the law of gravity in the surroundings. It circled above the sea of consciousness and was confined by the Divine Martial Imperial Codex. It couldn't hurt Yi Qinghan's soul at all. Boom, Yi Qinghan slashed out and struck the Divine Big Dipper wood. The Divine Big Dipper wood's defense was finally broken. The blade struck the trunk, causing the bucket-like trunk to shake violently. The pressure became even more terrifying, instantly sending Yi Qinghan flying. The moment the Divine Astral wood exploded, it seemed to have alarmed the demon dragon saber. The saber kept trembling in the air, as if it wanted to break through the confinement and regain its supreme power. "This saber is indeed extraordinary," Yi Lingyu said in a serious voice. "Brother, you're even more extraordinary. Why do you care about the present? You'll understand in the future," Yi Jianma said proudly, holding the black copper coin in his hand. Yi Lingyu stared at Yi Jianma and asked with a frown, "What do you mean? You seem to be hiding something from me. Some things need to be discovered by yourself. It won't do you any good if I tell you. Trust me, your future won't be worse than Senior Yi Qinghan's." "Proving one's way is reasonable," Yi Jianma said confidently. Yi Lingyu smiled faintly. No matter how confident he was, he couldn't say that proving one's way was common. For several generations, there might not be anyone who could prove one's way in the entire universe. No one could say that proving one's way was reasonable. Boom! Yi Qinghan fell from a distance. His right arm was almost broken. The demon dragon saber also fell to the side. The divine astral wood was too terrifying. Even a supreme treasure couldn't break its defense. Moreover, the gravity around it was so strong. "Do you want me to try?" Yi Lingyu clenched his fists. His blood was boiling. "Be careful. It can manipulate the gravity of the outside world. Its comprehension of the law of gravity is stronger than the average immortal realm." Yi Qinghan reminded him in a deep voice. Yi Lingyu nodded seriously. He reached out to grab the demon dragon saber. The moment his palm touched the saber's hilt, the demon dragon saber coiled around Yi Lingyu's arm like a mad dragon. It automatically fused with Yi Lingyu. The saber beam broke through the clouds and broke free from the restraints of gravity. Hum, hum, hum. Roar. The demon dragon saber let out a long hum. It transformed into a dragon and roared. The saber shook violently and forcibly broke the master contract with Yi Qinghan. In the blink of an eye, it had recognized Yi Lingyu as its master. Yi Qinghan was shocked. However, something even more terrifying happened. The seal on the demon dragon saber shattered. A terrifying azure dragon aura filled the canyon for thousands of miles. Even the law of gravity couldn't restrain it. It was like a true dragon had appeared and was overlooking all living things. Yi Lingyu's long hair danced in the wind. Divine light shot out from his body in all directions. His body was illuminated and his sea of consciousness emitted an ancient seal that constantly suppressed his body. This. Yi Qinghan instantly understood that there was another seal on Yi Lingyu's body. Moreover, it was a seal that sealed his sea of consciousness and soul to cultivate anew. The owner of the demon dragon saber was Yi Lingyu. Who is this person? Yi Qinghan became serious. He stared at Yi Lingyu's back as if he was staring at an immortal or even a divine martial expert. An ancient almighty. Without a doubt, Yilingyu was the reincarnation of a true ancient almighty. He had cultivated anew. Damn! So strong. The parrot was shocked. Its body trembled as it rushed to Yiqinghan's shoulder. Brother! Let go of the demon dragon saber. Yi Jianma was shocked and shouted immediately. Boom! Yilingyu suddenly turned around and looked at Yiqinghan and the others. There was no trace of emotion in his terrifying eyes. It was as if a demonic god had descended. One of his eyes was filled with evil, while the other was as pure as water. His gaze swept over Yiqinghan and was filled with battle intent. Yiqinghan's hair stood on end. The demon dragon saber was under his control. His heavy berserk saber hadn't been reforged. He was completely at a disadvantage. He couldn't help but clench his azure dragon saber and slowly took a step back. He narrowed his eyes and stared at Yilingyu. He said hoarsely, "If you want to fight, wait until we're out of this land of death. I'll accompany you to the end." Brother! Yi Jianma rushed to the middle without hesitation. She looked straight into Yilingyu's eyes without a trace of fear. Yilingyu's eyes that were filled with darkness and evil gradually faded away. It was exactly the same as the other one. It was filled with light and sunshine. His aura also became vast. The seal in his sea of consciousness became even stronger. It suppressed the demonic dragon's aura and prevented it from hooking his soul. You and I will have a fated battle in the end. Yilingyu looked at Yiqinghan from afar and said coldly. I'll satisfy you. The premise is that we can get out of this land of death. Yiqinghan clenched his iron fists. The battle intent in his eyes grew stronger. So what if Yilingyu was the reincarnation of an ancient mighty figure? If he was defeated, he could also become a mighty figure. The aura of the demon dragon saber had reached the peak of the 6th level. Yilingyu turned around and slashed at a divine dipper wood in front of him. The demon dragon saber was invincible. It shattered everything, including the law of gravity. The saber slashed at the divine dipper wood. Sizzle, the saber slashed into the divine dipper wood with a horrible sound. The trunk almost broke. The rebounding force sent Yilingyu flying for thousands of meters. He crashed into a towering mountain. The rebounding force almost shattered his body. His blood stained the iron mountain. The demon dragon saber was too terrifying. However, Yilingyu was still at the junior level of the Tao Master realm. He couldn't fully control it. Otherwise, the saber would have broken the divine dipper wood. A horrible wound appeared on the divine dipper wood. It almost pierced through the wood. However, it could heal quickly. Yiqinghan was shocked. He clenched his azure dragon saber and rushed toward the divine dipper wood. He gathered all his strength and genuine essence and smashed the wood that was about to break. Boom! The divine dipper wood, which only had a little bark left and was about to break, was broken by Yiqinghan. The law of gravity was weakened by the divine martial emperor cannon. The divine dipper wood broke and fell to the ground. Chapter 182. Boom! Yiqinghan smashed the grade 6 divine astral tree into pieces and fell to the ground. The bones in his hand were broken and the divine tree was stained with blood. The straight divine astral tree was only as thick as a water bucket, but it was 50 meters tall. With this divine astral tree, it wouldn't be a problem to forge 3 grade 6 divine weapons. As for the tree branches and wood shavings, they could be smelted and refined into immortal sect robes. They would definitely be stronger than ordinary immortal sect robes. The group was incomparably excited and they all gathered around. Even Yilingyu calmed down. The evil light in his eyes dissipated as he stared at the divine astral tree. The divine astral tree was already broken and the surrounding gravity law had lost control. The group sat down cross-legged without hesitation and began to comprehend the gravity law. Yi Qinghan also sat down. Not only did he comprehend the remaining gravity law, but he also comprehended the law's profoundness in his sea of consciousness. With both of them working together, the gravity law's profoundness quickly appeared in his sea of consciousness. The God-martial canon was fixed on the gravity law. The abstruse gravity law's profoundness surged in his sea of consciousness. Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and tried his best to comprehend. His soul was highly focused and he was exhausted. The powerful martial saint's soul expanded outwards and felt the gravity in the distance. He tried his best to use the gravity law's profoundness, but the gravity law didn't listen to him at all. His soul was in great pain and his face was as pale as paper. Calm your heart. Merge with the gravity law. The gravity law's profoundness became clearer and clearer. Yi Qinghan was sweating profusely. He could finally use a trace of the gravity law, but it was still unrealistic to use it for his own use. The gravity law wasn't something that could be cultivated overnight. It was always good to take a step forward. Yi Qinghan temporarily stopped comprehending the gravity law and began to cultivate his soul. His face gradually became rosy. The gravity law required a powerful soul to support it. Yi Qinghan and Yi Lingyu could still comprehend it. After all, one was a martial saint and the other was the reincarnation of an ancient almighty. As for Lu Ning, she couldn't even sense the gravity law, let alone comprehend the profoundness. Yi Jianma also didn't try to comprehend the profoundness. His soul wasn't enough and his cultivation was too weak. Forcefully comprehending it would only damage his soul. The parrot was quietly guarding Yi Qinghan. It was staring at Lu Ning and Yi Jian. It was very defensive. I found other treasures here. Do you want to come with me? I'll give you a share, the parrot said as it looked at the two of them with a serious expression. No. Godly pit. Lowly bird. One big and one small said at the same time. They despised the parrot, and didn't dare to believe its words. TCH, you actually dare to look down on this divine bird? You'll regret it in the future. The parrot disdainfully glared at the two of them. Yi Qinghan was constantly comprehending the laws of gravity and controlling the true meaning of gravity. His control over the laws of gravity was getting better and better. His soul was growing at an extremely fast rate due to his extreme fatigue. Just as his soul was about to break through to the immortal gate realm, Yi Qinghan suddenly woke up. His current physical body wasn't enough to control a celestial gate realm soul, otherwise, it would be easy for things to go wrong. Yi Qinghan shook his head and slowly stood up. Looking at the divine heavenly dipper tree, his heart was surging with excitement. His desire to forge the berserker was getting stronger and stronger. If he had a grade 6 berserker, he wouldn't need to fear Azura Qianye and the others. Yi Lingyu also stood up. Looking at the upright divine heavenly dipper tree, his eyes were filled with excitement. I remember that you know how to refine. I'll break it down and you refine it. We'll split the results in half. What do you think? Yi Lingyu suggested. All right. But before that, I want to forge the berserker. Yi Qinghan's blood was boiling. He held the saber core in his hand, almost embedding it into his flesh. With the berserker in hand, he didn't need to fear anyone. Yi Lingyu didn't waste any time. The divine heavenly dipper tree had already fallen and couldn't control the laws of gravity. A dead tree couldn't block his grade 6 demon dragon saber. Boom! Boom! The first 7 feet of the trunk was cut off by Yi Lingyu's consecutive attacks. Yi Qinghan left the canyon and summoned the smelting divine furnace. He placed it on top of a meteor that had just fallen. The temperature of the crater below was enough to roast a grade 5 combat weapon. The smelting divine furnace was instantly burned red. Yi Qinghan threw many meteorites into the smelting divine furnace, wanting to melt it. Countless meteorites of extreme density were smelted by the smelting divine furnace and gradually turned into liquid. The 7-feet-long divine heavenly dipper tree was also stuffed into the smelting divine furnace and melted with the molten iron, becoming one. Yi Qinghan began to inject his true yuan into the smelting divine furnace, crazily increasing the temperature to help the divine wood melt. The divine heavenly dipper tree had divinity. Even after being refined, it wouldn't disperse. It was definitely a supreme treasure for forging treasures. The smelting divine furnace was restless. The surrounding temperature roasted Yi Qinghan and Yi Lingyu until their bodies turned red and cracked rapidly. Not only did the two not retreat, but they also used the high temperature to continue tempering their bodies. Yi Qinghan was multitasking. He was refining weapons, tempering his soul, and finally tempering his body. Impurities and waste were deposited under the smelting divine furnace, constantly removing the impurities and extracting the essence. Yi Qinghan tirelessly added meteorites into the smelting divine furnace in order to improve the quality of the smelting divine furnace. These meteorites were all grade 5 materials. Once their essence was gathered, it could definitely be used to forge a grade 6 divine weapon. Yi Qinghan's soul and true yuan were rapidly depleting. His eyes were bleeding, but he still gritted his teeth and persevered. This smelting divine furnace was going to be his natal divine weapon. It was very likely that it would accompany him for the rest of his life. He couldn't let his guard down. Any flaw could cause his natal divine weapon to break. Under the high-speed tempering, Yi Qinghan's willpower was constantly strengthening. His soul was being suppressed and was stuck at the immortal gate realm. He could only increase its purity, but he didn't dare to increase its quantity. His body was already comparable to a battle weapon. Every part of his body could be transformed into a battle weapon. Yi Lingyu stared at Yi Qinghan. He didn't want to launch a sneak attack. He only wanted to fight fair and square. He wanted to suppress this invincible battle king in the most powerful manner possible. The smelting divine furnace was extraordinarily powerful. It could actually withstand such high temperatures without melting. It seemed that its quality was far from grade 5. It was very likely that it was above grade 6. However, Yi Qinghan didn't find anything special about it. He also didn't understand how such a powerful furnace could appear on Owlfall planet. Gugugu, the molten iron boiled and evaporated. The boiling liquid was surging. Yi Qinghan's soul was exhausted to the extreme. His body was also cracking. Just as he was about to fail, the parrot rushed out and handed Yi Qinghan a brocade box. It was exactly the same as the grade 5 divine pill he had swallowed before. Yi Lingyu's pupils shrank. He glared at the parrot. Obviously, he recognized that this grade 5 divine pill was from EGNMO. I'll deal with you when I get out of here. Yi Lingyu coldly rebuked. This is a deal. Don't you know what a deal is? Who would give you benefits for free? Do you think you are the king of heaven? Without my yin and yang ring, you would all starve to death. How can you be so arrogant in front of this divine bird? Can a grade 5 divine pill save your life? The parrot angrily retorted. Yi Lingyu was speechless. He couldn't reason with the parrot. Yi Qinghan finally knew the origin of the grade 5 divine pill. However, he couldn't be polite at this time. He swallowed the divine pill in one go. His aura greatly increased as he roared. Water origin profound meaning, appear. Condense. The molten iron that had almost condensed into a solid state still contained the element of water. The molten iron that was hot enough to melt everything was controlled by Yi Qinghan's will. It turned into a fire dragon and rushed out of the smelting divine furnace, allowing Yi Qinghan to change it according to his will. Dragon transformation, condensing, the basic embryonic form of the heavy berserk saber appeared. The divinity of the heavenly spirit saber radiated in all directions. The quality of this grade 6 divine saber was self-evident. Fortunately, Yi Qinghan's soul was strong enough. Otherwise, even with the water origin profound meaning, he wouldn't be able to condense the grade 6 heavy berserk saber. Dark element, condense. Yi Qinghan mobilized the dark element in the sky and rushed towards the heavy berserk saber, dyeing it black. The saber was evil and contained divinity and evil energy. Once this grade 6 heavy berserk saber was born, it would definitely cause the heavens to collapse and the earth to split open, triggering the bombardment of lightning. Yin and Yang wriggled on the back of the heavy berserk saber. It contained the 8 trigrams and heavenly dipper arrays to increase its combat strength. With Yin and Yang and the water element, the heavy berserk saber had the ability to self-repair and upgrade. The dark element made its attack unparalleled. Boom boom boom, the 9 heavens tribulation clouds gathered and the lightning tribulation spanned thousands of miles. Before it could accumulate power, it was torn apart by the terrifying gravity. It couldn't cause any destructive damage at all. This gave the heavy berserk saber a chance to breathe and grow under the weak lightning tribulation. The source of lightning was imprisoned when it entered the heavy berserk saber. This gave the heavy berserk saber an additional thunder element, making it even colder and sharper. It had just been born, but it could already stand shoulder to shoulder with the demon dragon saber. Good saber. Yi Lingyu was excited and gave a rare compliment. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up. This kind of heavy berserk was not what he wanted. He wanted to gather the source of all the techniques in the world. Once the heavy berserk saber was unleashed, all the techniques in the universe would submit to it. That was what he wanted. The heavy berserk saber that looked like it was only 7 feet long was actually as heavy as 10,000 pounds. It was the condensation of the most condensed essence. Yi Qinghan formed seals with his palms and the soul of a great perfection Marshall revered rushed out of his body. He mobilized the surrounding laws of gravity and poured them into the heavy berserk saber. The heavy berserk saber became smaller and smaller. Then, the molten iron in the smelting divine furnace rushed out again and expanded the heavy berserk saber to 7 feet. This cycle of refinement made the heavy berserk saber unimaginably heavy. A drop of his heart's blood was mobilized and gathered 50% of Yi Qinghan's blood essence. It was wrapped in true essence and rushed into the heavy berserk saber, causing the heavy berserk saber to turn blood red. At this moment, the heavy berserk saber was incomparably overbearing and domineering. This was under the situation where the saber core was not supporting it. Once it was supported, there was nothing it could not destroy. Even the soul-devouring saber behind the baleful edge might not dare to fight it head-on. The heavy berserk saber was at its peak. It was also covered in dark element evil chi. In addition to the divinity of the heavenly dipper divine wood, it was as if it had a soul. It was extremely terrifying. The heavy berserk saber had Yi Qinghan's heart's blood and a trace of his soul. When it was born, it recognized its master and became Yi Qinghan's life divine weapon. No matter how much it grew in the future, it would not be able to harm Yi Qinghan. The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth finally revealed a trace of excitement. The saber core in his palm emitted a monstrous pressure. It wanted to merge with the heavy berserk saber and become the true supreme heavy berserk saber, suppressing the heavens. Countless lightning bolts converged from the desolate land like a 10,000 li-long golden dragon. It traversed millions of li and tore apart the gravitational force of the Death Star as it blasted towards the heavy berserk saber. Go! Yi Qinghan flicked his finger, and the saber core embedded itself into the heavy berserk saber's hilt. The heavy berserk saber immediately came to life. With a light tremble, the stable space was shattered. Man and saber as one, all things submit. Slash! Yi Qinghan's palms turned into fingers and pressed them on his forehead. His soul controlled the heavy berserk saber to cleave the heavens, wanting to slash apart the thunder calamity. The space was split apart, and the earth could not restrain the heavy berserk saber. The heavens could not suppress it, and it wanted to slash apart all shackles. It was incomparably tyrannical and emitted a supreme battle intent. Chapter 183. Under the control of Yi Qinghan's soul, the heavy berserk saber cleaved through the clouds. No matter how strong the gravity was, it could not be restrained. Yi Qinghan's will was the heavy berserk saber. It could break heaven and earth. Boom! Crack crack crack, the lightning dragons surrounded the heavy berserk saber and tore at each other. It was as if the universe was being destroyed and all laws were wailing. The rotation of the entire dead star stopped for a while. The Heavenly Dipper saber's attack was unparalleled, and the formation resisted all attacks. It was constantly being refined, becoming more and more majestic and powerful. The lightning dragons were torn apart by the heavy berserk saber. Yi Qinghan's face was pale. He controlled the heavy berserk saber to attack the center of the tribulation cloud, shattering it in an instant. Puff! Yi Qinghan spat out a mouthful of essence blood. The heavy berserk saber broke through the air, and a dragon's roar shook the world. Yi Qinghan's expression changed. This heavy berserk saber was beyond his imagination. Once it was nurtured, it would become Yi Qinghan's true natal divine weapon in a few years. It would be absolutely terrifying. Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed the berserk rebirth. His aura became peerlessly terrifying, as if he was a supreme overlord. Wherever his gaze passed, all living things would submit, and his battle intent would soar to the heavens. Master is mighty. With the heavy berserk saber, the world is mine. Whoever dares to go against me is going against Master. Ha ha ha. The parrot stood proudly on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. There was a trace of disdain in its eyes. Yi Qinghan's will shattered the heavens. He felt that this dead star could not restrain him, and the heavens could not suppress him. The supreme war god of the past had returned. This heavy berserk saber made Yi Qinghan extremely confident. He gently weighed it. It gathered the essence of thousands of meteorites and half a heavenly dipper divine wood. It weighed 50,000 pounds. It was a little cumbersome in his hand, but he could get used to it when he entered the realm of Tao Master. The sharp and violent aura defeated Yi Lingyu. Yi Lingyu controlled the demon dragon saber and crossed the two sabers, suppressing each other. His violent and domineering aura was unparalleled. He was like the emperor of the universe that could not be compared to anything else. He crazily suppressed the aura of the demon dragon saber. Inside the demon dragon saber spirit roared. It wanted to fight back, but the more it fought back, the more overbearing it became. Yi Lingyu kept retreating, and the demon dragon's aura was weakening. It was about to surrender. Yi Qinghan kept the heavy frenzy saber and hid it in the sea of sufferings, using his soul to nurture it. Once the heavy frenzy saber entered the sea of consciousness, a few pages of the divine martial emperor canon were flipped, emitting an incomprehensible source of great Tao. It was fixed on the heavy frenzy chapter. The domineering and fierce aura fixed crazed Zhong in place, continuously tempering him and increasing his divinity. The great Tao laws supported him and helped him grow. Yi Qinghan stared at Yi Lingyu and said in a low voice, "Rest for a day first. After I'm done with the repairs, I'll forge the immortal sect Tao robes. Think of any weapons you need in advance. I need 2 immortal sect Tao robes and a pair of celestial dipper gloves." Yi Lingyu replied without hesitation. Naturally, he wanted to help Yi Jianma obtain an immortal sect Tao robe. With the celestial dipper gloves, he would no longer have to worry about his fingers being unable to withstand the sharpness of the guqin strings. His combat strength would increase by several times. All right. Yi Qinghan put away the smelting divine furnace and walked into the canyon. He looked at Lu Ning with an emotionless gaze, so much so that Lu Ning did not dare to look at him directly. "Lu Ning, I'll still abide by our deal. I won't kill the innocent, but you'd better watch out. Our relationship ends here," Yi Qinghan said coldly. Lu Ning's mouth twitched. She wanted to say something, but she did not know what to say. The gap between them had widened. Today's estrangement came from the murderous intent that day. Once the murderous intent was triggered, Yi Qinghan would no longer trust her. Yi Qinghan returned to the forest and sat on the ground with his legs crossed. He comprehended the law of gravity and trained his body to break through to the second step of the Fate Palace realm. Yi Qinghan had consumed 2 grade 5 elixirs in a row. A large amount of medicinal properties had accumulated in his body. The blood in his body began to roar and boil. He began to use the remaining medicinal properties to increase the strength of his body and qi. Yi Qinghan knew that if he did not break through now, it would be impossible for him to improve any further. He began to mobilize his ethereal force to break through the bottleneck of the second step of the Fate Palace realm. His veins popped out as ethereal force filled his limbs and bones. Boom, 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 his blood roared like the rolling waters of the Yellow River. His tendons and veins were extremely tough. His blood turned crimson gold like the blood of a god. The pressure rushed out of his body. Even the parrot could not get close to him, let alone others. The overbearing aura was like the arrival of a god of war. The aura of the second step of the Fate Palace realm shocked Lu Ning and Yi Jianma. They had never seen such a terrifying second step of the Fate Palace realm. The amount of ethereal force had reached the limit. It was comparable to the combat strength of the great emperors of ancient times when they were young. Is he going to become an emperor in the future? Yi Jianma pursed her lips with excitement in her eyes. The human race had not had a great emperor for thousands of years. The endless universe was struggling at death's door. The thousands of races were strong and powerful. The ferocious spirits of the Forbidden Land were about to appear again. With the birth of a great emperor, the human race would have a much better life. Golden light filled the sky and illuminated the universe. The vision of heaven and earth appeared simultaneously. Even the Forbidden Land could be magnificent. Ha, 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 a glorious era is about to appear. The great Emperor of War is on his way forward. He will crush thousands of enemies and defeat all the geniuses. He will break through the Forbidden Land with a snap of his fingers. He will lead the Golden Holy Body and the Guqin Saint to cut the path. He will step into the Forbidden Land of the ferocious spirits of the 10,000 races. The parrot was like a madman. Yi Lingyu and Yi Jianma took a deep look at the parrot. They felt that there was something wrong with the origin of this weirdo. Yi Qinghan's aura suddenly increased again. The azure dragon arm grabbed a few branches of the divine dipper tree and merged them into his arms. The horrifying divinity in his arms shot out in all directions. Tiny lightning bolts penetrated his blood and bones, melting them continuously. Boom! With a loud boom, Yi Qinghan officially stepped into the second step of the Fate Palace realm. The blood in his body turned golden. The golden bones emitted the profound meaning of the law. Even if they were broken, they could repair themselves. At this step, as long as he was not killed instantly, he could repair his injured body. He was twice as strong as when he was at the same level. A few days later, Yi Qinghan slowly stood up. His clothes fluttered in the absence of wind. He stood proudly on the ground as if he wanted to reach the sky. He waved his hand and the 7-foot berserk hammer appeared. The area within 100 meters around him became a forbidden land. Boom! A simple slash was made with supreme majesty. The berserk hammer sword cut through an even thicker divine dipper tree. The divine dipper tree fell to the ground with a loud bang. The law of gravity that burst out was forcibly absorbed by the divine martial imperial codex. I can make the celestial Taoist robe now. Yi Qinghan pondered for a moment and decided to use the treasures here to build a powerful crazy sect. Everyone would have a 5th-grade combat weapon and a set of celestial Taoist robe, which would be enough to sweep the Owl Dragon region. It was easy to make a 5th-grade combat weapon. With his soul that was stuck in the celestial realm, it was only a matter of time. Only the celestial Taoist robe was more troublesome. It required a lot of effort, formation, great path, profound meaning, and a combination of defense and attack. Only then could it be considered a 6th-grade celestial Taoist robe. Time was unknown on the dead star, but 3 years had passed in the outside world. Inside the crazy sect, Gu Qingyu recovered. The aura of a great martial venerable filled the Owl Fall star. The supreme solitary sword way pierced through the clouds. The Buddha heart sword seed Sarira was forcibly refined and added to the divine sword. It became even sharper and entered the 6th grade. At this moment, Gu Qingyu was a sword of solitude, a sword that sought defeat. If he had the celestial Taoist robe, he would not be weaker than Feng Sha. He might even be slightly stronger. After 3 years of hard work, the group of children had all reached the Fate Palace realm. Emperor Yi had surpassed Yi Qinghan and reached the 4th step of the Fate Palace realm. Yi Mengxi, on the other hand, had reached the early stage of the Tao Master realm. She broke free and laughed like a little doll. No one knew how strong she really was, but Si Wuxie knew that she could easily beat him. Si Wuxie had not been systematically trained by Yi Qinghan. If he had been trained, Yi Mengxi would not have crushed him. He had the greatest room for improvement. Gu Qingyu glanced at the group of children in front of him and stared at Tai Hua. A black line appeared on his forehead. Tai Hua, come here. Gu Qingyu frowned. Tai Hua was already 9 years old. He stayed in the inner sect day and night, bitterly cultivating. The spiritual energy here was rich to the extreme. Even a beast without intelligence should have spiritual energy, but Tai Hua still hadn't opened up his Qi Si. He was definitely the only weirdo in the universe who could be compared to a parrot. Tai Hua was helpless. He came to Gu Qingyu dejectedly and begged, "Uncle, please don't chase me away." "I didn't do it on purpose." Gu Qingyu's divine sense pierced into Tai Hua's psyche ocean and found it empty like a hollow stone. There were no seals or laws sealing him. Tai Hua's chi ocean was like a stone that couldn't be opened no matter how hard he tried. Everyone was curious. Everyone else had entered the Fate Palace realm. Even the youngest, Xiao Li, had entered the 1st step of the Fate Palace realm. Li Jiucheng, a middle-aged man, had also entered the 3rd step of the Fate Palace realm. Why was this little guy unable to grow up and could not even cross a small realm? Whoosh, Gu Qingyu waved his hand and said helplessly, "Go and play. I can't see through you. You're really a rock. Since your master accepted you, it means that it's fate. The crazy sect will not expel you." "Master, can I break through to the Tao Master realm?" Lin Wutian stood with his sword in his arms. He was as straight as a spear. 3 years of transformation had made him somewhat terrifying. No matter when he stood there, he looked like a divine sword that held up the sky. He didn't have the slightest aura of a human being. Continue to suppress and build your body. Everything will wait until your uncle comes back. He has a deep understanding of body refining. Maybe he can help you go further. Gu Qingyu refused Lin Wutian's request without hesitation. Roar! A roar shook the sky. The entire Owl Fall star trembled. The world was dead silent. Gu Qingyu frowned and flew into the void to stare at the blood prison. He found that Kuei had become more and more irritated in the past 2 years and wanted to break free. It's getting more and more dangerous here. Gu Qingyu stared at the blood prison and then flew back to the crazy sect. He said to everyone, "I'll give you a few cloud-piercing boats. Go and train. Remember, don't be separated. Listen to Li Jiucheng and your senior sister, Emperor Yi. Do you understand?" With Emperor Yi and Yi Mengxi leading the team, no one could kill these juniors in an instant as long as they were not great martial venerables. Gu Qingyu stepped into the void, his clothes fluttering. He was willing to be a protector and protect this group of children. He had become somewhat emotional. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.